A new wave of optimism has made its way to the Canadian soccer scene. The national team has accepted a new set of values that have brought them to the Gold Cup promised land. A collection of heroes have kept the squad unbeaten in their last 10 games. They have defied the odds from day one and look to do so again today. The impossible dream continues. Canada, Colombia in the Gold Cup final. Next. Well, who would have believed this 2 weeks ago? From Los Angeles, California, it's Canada against Colombia in the final of the Gold Cup. Hi there, everyone, and welcome to a special presentation here on CTV Sportsnet, the Gold Cup final, Canada and Colombia. Jerry Dobson here in the studio, along with CTV Sportsnet soccer analyst Bob Leonarduzzi. And Bob, there's been some big games in Canadian soccer, but apart from qualifying for the World Cup, I can't think of a bigger game in the history of Canadian soccer than this one we're going to see here today. No, and I was there in '85 when we did qualify for the 1986 World Cup, and it was a wonderful occasion. But you're right. On this occasion, the players have an opportunity to do something unprecedented, win a Gold Cup. They've already won the CONCACAF Championship, so I'm sure they're just full of themselves right now, and I hope they go out and they just have a good time. All right, we're going to have a good time bringing this one to you, folks. Now, as you know, injuries are always a part of sports, and so is weather. Injuries have hit this Canadian team hard. They've hit this team again today. Weather is a factor as well, and standing by live in Los Angeles with a report on both is our own Alf de Blasis. Alf?
Thanks, Jerry. And yes, we are standing in a rain-soaked LA Coliseum just prior to game time, and I'm with injured Canadian forward, Paul Peschisolido. And Paul, it must be a disappointment for you not to be playing in this match, but certainly you must be proud of what Canada has accomplished.
Yeah, we've achieved great things here in this tournament. It's not very often that we get to a final of an international tournament, and obviously upset that I'm not going to be involved, but I'll be there in spirit with the lads.
Paul, put into perspective exactly what Canada has accomplished at this event, at this tournament, at this CONCACAF championship that brings together obviously the best nations in this region.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I don't think anyone would have expected us. If you look at the program notes and that, everyone was touting us as just to give people a hard game and maybe get the odd draw. But this is a great tournament. You got teams of Colombia, teams of Mexico, United States, who are teams that have always been in the World Cup rankings, have been in the World Cups. And we've destroyed everybody in the sense that we're here.
Paul, what's the mood of the players? What is the general feeling coming into this match?
Well, everyone's over the moon, excited, but we've put all that in the past, and we're at a final in which we've never been at before, and we're looking forward to it. And we know that, it's been a long time coming, and we don't want to, we don't want to come out of this unless we win it.
Paul, thank you very much, and best of luck today.
Very much.
Paul Peschisolido. Now, Holger Osieck said a couple of days ago after the Trinidad and Tobago match that there will be no pressure on his team today, but the team will be playing for pride and also trying to keep a 10-game unbeaten streak intact.
We never thought that Canada will be where we are now in the finals, so I think it's the biggest game of my life. But no, we're going to do our job, the same thing that we did the last 4 games, and we're going to see what's going to happen.
If you don't have your right game, you're in for a big pumping. So we're going to go in with the right frame of mind and go for the win, because even if we do lose, we know people are going to say, well done, but that's not good enough. We're going to go actually for the title.
We have to go out like we're going to win the tournament, and that's the main job. I mean, sometimes you can say you won the CONCACAF championship, but you lost in the final. It sounds, if you win the tournament, you've won everything. So hopefully the guys know it's a final we've got, and if we don't show up, we'll get beat.
Guys, here's an update to the injury situation. As we know, Paul Peschisolido is out of the lineup. His replacement is Martin Nash, a bit of a surprising choice. Also, Davide Xausa, who left the Trinidad and Tobago game with a shoulder injury, had his arm in a sling for a couple of days. He won't start today either. His replacement is Paul Fenwick. So that is the scene here at field level at the LA Coliseum under the rain. Now back to you guys.
All right, Alf, try and keep yourself dry, and we'll talk to you a little later. As our pregame show rolls along here, Bob, let's talk about these lineup changes. Martin Nash in for Paul Peschisolido. Nash, the footballing-playing brother of Steve Nash of the Dallas Mavericks of the NBA. Nash has himself a job today.
Well, he has a job, and I'm sure that Holger Osieck has probably decided that he'll throw Nash in at the outset and then ask him to give whatever he's got. And if he hasn't got 90 minutes, he'll make a substitution. But Nash has something that Canada lacks, and that is the ability as an individual to go at players and create chances for others. And also, as we saw against Bermuda in his first international, he scored 2 goals. So it's a wonderful opportunity for Martin Nash.
Nash, of course, is one of these Canadian players who is unattached, meaning he has no club team, and so his fitness level is the question mark. Let's talk about the midfield, because it has been completely decimated by injuries. The latest one, as Alf spoke to, is Davide Xausa is out and Paul Fenwick is in.
Paul Fenwick is in. The irony for Paul Fenwick is that I think Holger Osieck had him in as a starting defender. He hurts his back. Richard Hastings comes in, and we know what happened after that. He's got himself back in the side now, but he's not in a position that's familiar to him. I would think that he would probably set up as a defensive midfielder in the middle 3 and rely on him to be more of a destroyer than a creator. So they've lost Davide Xausa, who in fact in the last game probably looked as sharp as he has done in the past few games.
Due to all these injuries, the team is allowed to call up an emergency replacement. In this case, they've called up Robbie Aristodemo, a young midfielder from the University of Tulsa, and he might see some action as well.
Well, Robbie Aristodemo is an exciting player. He's very young, and not people on the Canadian team wouldn't be all that familiar with him. He is the key player in the middle of the park for the Olympic team. He's the type of player that wants to get on the ball, demands the ball from his back 4 or back 3, and is very, very comfortable. And he is, I think in the future, he's going to be a key to this Canadian midfield.
All right, lots of things to watch for as this game unfolds this afternoon. Kickoff coming up just after 3 o'clock. And, of course, we will have that from the outset. But for now, we're going to take a break. We've got lots more on our pregame show. We're going to talk about those awful FIFA rankings as they are. And we're going to talk about all kinds of things, including the road to this game for both, when we come back in just a moment.
Our car price is giving you the chills. Hyundai is heating up deals with 0 down and low lease rates during the Hyundai winter price thaw. Warm up in the all-new 2000 Accent with 0 down and only $179 a month. Drive the sporty Elantra family sedan and chill with 0 down and only $239 a month. Or get into the luxurious Sonata with 0 down and a piping hot lease of just $299 a month. Save cold hard cash during the Hyundai winter price thaw at your Hyundai dealer now.
How the years, they fly by, fleeting glimpses, moments in our lives. Gotta hold on to them, catch them while you can. These are the moments, these are the moments. JVC holds the moments of our lives.
Can't decide? Unable to make a choice? Hey, don't sweat it, because now at McDonald's in Canada, your favorite extra value meals are only 2 for $6.99. Choose from all the classics like Big Mac, Quarter Pounder with cheese, McChicken, Filet-O-Fish, and the Big Extra. 2 can dine for $6.99 after 4 p.m. every day. McValue, we'll be seeing a lot of each other. So next time, make sure you bring a friend who can make decisions.
Log on to the hottest sports website in Canada, ctvsportsnet.com. It's TV on demand with full streaming video of Sports Central, the Hevsey Awards, the hockey news, and Ice Time. Daily columns from some of the most respected sports journalists in Canada. Plus, all the breaking news, scores, and stats. So when you log on for sports information, there's only one place to go, ctvsportsnet.com.
The Canadian team you see warming up live at the Los Angeles Coliseum, getting set for the biggest game of their lives, basically, the Gold Cup final against Colombia. They've never advanced beyond the original grouping in the Gold Cup. And of course, Colombia, this is their first trip to the Gold Cup by virtue of being an invited team. Well, we've got a special treat in store for you now, folks. It's an interactive segment of the program, and you can take part. And here's how you can take part. Log on to ctvsportsnet.com. Go to the Soccer Fan Forum. There you'll find our Who Will Score First for Canada contest. Be the first person to correctly name the first Canadian goal scorer, maybe there'll be a lot of them, against Colombia in the Gold Cup final, and win a national team jersey provided by Adidas and autographed by the entire team. All entries must provide a valid email address in order to receive the prize. Good luck to all of you. There have been many big goals scored in this tournament for Canada, none bigger than the one scored by Mark Watson against Trinidad and Tobago. That's the goal that got Canada to where they are today. Let's have a look as we send it to break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Ball right across, goes over everybody. Brennan chipping it back in. Header in front to Watson, and a goal for Canada! And Canada take the lead here on a header from Mark Watson.
Team Canadian Fantasy Camp, where Canadian hockey greats will train you and 5 friends in skating, shooting, conditioning, and other fine points of the game. Look for a red bottle in specially marked cases of Molson Canadian, plus a collectible Roots tube, free in every case. Team Canadian Fantasy Camp.
It's a Canadian game.
No purchase necessary, must be legal drinking age.
En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo, gracias a nuestro Señor Jesucristo, el amor del Padre y la comunión del Espíritu Santo sea contigo, Marco, y también con tu calzado. Amén.
Muchas gracias, Padre, por su bendición.
Buena suerte.
Our car price is giving you the chills. Hyundai is heating up deals with 0 down and low lease rates during the Hyundai winter price thaw. Warm up in the all-new 2000 Accent with 0 down and only $179 a month. Drive the sporty Elantra family sedan and chill with 0 down and only $239 a month. Or get into the luxurious Sonata with 0 down and a piping hot lease of just $299 a month. Save cold hard cash during the Hyundai winter price thaw at your Hyundai dealer now.
Punch, 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 knee, jack, kick, punch, 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 go, knee, in.
Subway has 7 fresh value meals with just 8 grams of fat or less, while a Big Mac extra value meal has 49. Subway, the way a sandwich should be.
Chew.
I'm Darren Millard. What goes into a rivalry? Is it geography? Is it staying power? Or is it competition? One of the newest in the National Hockey League is Colorado and Detroit. Their regular season battle spilling over to the Stanley Cup and putting Chris Osgood and Patrick Waugh head-to-head and toe-to-toe. But is that rivalry fading behind the established likes of Calgary and Edmonton and New York? How about Tampa Bay and Florida? Okay, that one might be a stretch. Let us know what you think. ctvsportsnet.com, the results on Monday.
The Gold Cup on CTV Sportsnet is brought to you by JVC, when performance matters. Hyundai, driving is believing. And by Adidas.
Welcome back to our pregame show, everybody. Jerry Dobson here in the studio, along with Bob Leonarduzzi. Canada and Colombia upcoming. Kickoff live just shortly after 3 p.m. Eastern Time, just a little over 15 minutes away. Much has been made about Canada's ranking, which is set by FIFA, the world governing body. Canada ranks 85th in the world, which does not seem like much, but when you think about what they've done in this tournament, Canada is going to move up a lot, Bob, and it means a number of different things, all of them positive.
Well, Canada will likely move up anywhere from 20 to 30 spots, and if we're to go by the African Nations Cup, Cameroon were the winners, and they jumped, I believe, in excess of 30 spots. So along with that comes the opportunity for players to go abroad. If you're in the top 70, the visa issue doesn't become as much of a problem.
Now, as far as Canada is concerned, this game then will mean a whole lot if they can beat another top-ranked team, which is Colombia. They're ranked 24th in the world. But in this Gold Cup tournament, it has not exactly been an easy road for them. They beat Jamaica by a score of 1-0 in a game they probably should have dominated. Then they lost to Honduras, got to the semifinals after beating the United States in a game that went to penalty kicks, and then knocked off Peru to get to where they are today. Let's have a look back now at Colombia and their road to the Gold Cup championship game.
The Colombians would enter the tourney with a new-look squad with only one World Cup team member on the starting 11. However, it did not seem to affect the team in Game 1, as they would look quite comfortable in attack and in finishing, as Colombia would steal a 1-0 victory from Jamaica. In Game 2, however, they would experience something the Canadians have not thus far had, a taste of defeat, down 2-0 to a fiery Honduran squad. In the quarterfinals, the Colombians would show a determination lacking in round 1, as they would battle back twice against a strong U.S. side. They would be led by the poise and confidence of Premiership and Serie A veteran Faustino Asprilla, who would help send the game into penalty kicks, where they would need only 2 goals to oust the tournament hosts. Facing South American rivals Peru in the semifinals, Colombia would make use of critical errors on the part of their opponents, with the Peruvians paying for their mistakes, making it clear that a lapse in concentration is something the Canadians must be wary of, as the Colombians will no doubt capitalize.
All right, this is Colombia's first trip to the Gold Cup. Each year, CONCACAF invites 3 countries. Invitations they send out, and Colombia was one of those teams this year. They're ranked 24th in the world, and they've got some quality footballers, obviously.
Well, they're ranked 24. When you think about South American soccer, you think about Brazil, obviously, you think about Argentina, but Colombia are up there right now, and they've got players that are capable in Asprilla up front. A veteran from the '94 World Cup, and the only member left from that squad. He's the type of player that can make something from nothing. Martinez, we saw on the highlights, he scored the only goal against Jamaica, and he's a fullback, but he's not going to stay back in defense all that much. He's always attacking from the right flank.
And we've also noticed from watching some of their game tapes earlier, they're not playing a 3-5-2. They're playing more of a traditional European with a flat back 4.
They're playing with 4 at the back. They look quite comfortable. Having said that, though, they've given up a lot more goals than I'm sure they would have liked to. They've given up 5 goals in 4 games. So I would think that Canada will hopefully continue to play the same way that they have done and soak up the pressure. But in Colombia giving up 5 goals, obviously they're a little weak at the back.
All right. Canada has only played Colombia one time in history. They lost by a score of 3-0 for what it's worth, and that game took place 12 years ago. And of course, there was nobody from the current team involved in that one. Our pregame show will continue in just a moment as we get set for kickoff. Just a few moments away now from the Los Angeles Coliseum. It's Canada and Colombia. And yes, there are some Maple Leafs in the stands, folks. We'll be back in a moment.
They fly by, fleeting glimpses, moments in our lives. Gotta hold on to them, catch them while you can. These are the moments, these are the moments. JVC holds the moments of our lives.
She's coming.
You're not Doris.
No, I'm...
Jeff!
I'm glad you made it. This is Jeff from McDonald's.
Hi.
I've been going so often lately, I thought he might like to join us. What?
Get to know us better with our 59-cent hamburgers on Wednesdays, 69-cent cheeseburgers on Sundays, and $1.49 McChickens on Mondays. McValue. We'll be seeing a lot of each other.
Nice uniform, man.
You too.
Help, Popeye! Oh, me olive oil's in trouble.
I need something hearty, and I needs it now. Chunky with prime rib and vegetables. Perfect. Will you look at that? Big chunks of prime rib and wholesome vegetables. Oh, skittle da bung, that really hit the spot. Oops, coming, Olive! It's a very big deal. Soup that eats like a meal. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
It's a Canadian game.
Log on to the hottest sports website in Canada, ctvsportsnet.com. It's TV on demand with full streaming video of Sports Central, the Headsy Awards, the hockey news, and ice time. Daily columns from some of the most respected sports journalists in Canada. Plus, all the breaking news, scores, and stats. So when you log on for sports information, there's only one place to go, ctvsportsnet.com.
Well, a lot has been made of the success that Holger Osieck has come up with since he took over this program a few months ago, 15 months ago, and he has had an incredible record, which includes 10 straight without a loss. So he has really been able to put it together. I don't know how. You tell me how.
I don't know. I think
it is a bit magical, isn't it?
What he's done is he's come in, and obviously the team that I had previous, there's been an entire facelift. He's brought the youth in. What the association have done well with is that they've given him games, a lot of games, and against competition that they were able to get results in, and at the same time develop the way that he wants them to play. And they've got to the point now where the players have had a number of internationals under their belt, and they're playing against very good sides now. And really, there's only one way to go. He's established the base, and now they just need to build from this.
All right, 10 in a row without a loss. A win today, of course, would make that 11. Let's have a look back at how Canada got here. A little bit of luck involved and lots of skill as well. Canada's road to the Gold Cup final.
In Game 1 of the Gold Cup, the Canadians would look to the efforts of an old hero as well as the energy of a new star as striker Carlo Corazzin would bring the Canucks back twice on a penalty in the 19th minute and on a dazzling bicycle kick in the 57th minute to earn a hard-fought draw with Costa Rica. It would be thanks in large part as well to the stellar keeping of BC native Craig Forrest, who was magnificent, smothering the opposing attack on various occasions. In Game 2 against South Korea, Canada would find that goals would be harder to come by as physical play and missed opportunities would become the theme of the day, earning the second draw, but a spot in the quarterfinals by virtue of a coin toss. In the fateful match against Mexico, it seemed as though Canada would again bear the brunt of another defeat, going down 1-0 early on. A second-half substitution would seem to spark the Canadians as Martin Nash would make an instant impact and figure in both goals. First, with a strong cross to Carlo Corazzin. And secondly, with the long ball to Richard Hastings to create the golden goal, leading Team Canada in their stunning upset. Looking confident, Canada would face Trinidad and Tobago in the semifinals, once again relying heavily on the outstanding play of Craig Forrest, earning his 51st cap in stunning fashion. And in the 67th minute, defender Mark Watson would astonish the critics with the goal that would give Canada the win and a berth in the Gold Cup final.
Well, we talked a moment ago about Holger Osieck's record with the Canadian team, and he comes to this squad with all kinds of coaching experience. He was the assistant coach to Franz Beckenbauer when Germany won the World Cup a few years ago, and he's also coached in Turkey. He's coached in Japan. What do you think he brings to this team?
Discipline. He's got the team well organized in defense, and I think he's looked at what he has at his disposal in the terms of type of players, and he's got them well organized. He's got great goalkeeping from either Pat Onstad or Craig Forrest, and he's got solid defending from the whole team, and he's got timely goals. And as a result, he's got a winning record and well worth it at this point.
He has not even played or coached this team within games in a year. He took over more than a year ago, but his first game was last April, and that's the record since then, so it has been amazing. Against Colombia, just one game, and we referred to that a few moments ago, Canada losing to Colombia March 30th, 1988. You were not involved with the national side at that point.
No, the squad were on a lengthy tour of South America, and I recall talking to players that were involved in that game, and in fact, Carlos Valderrama played and apparently put on quite a show, and also René Higuita played, the goalkeeper that seems to get himself in the news for sometimes the wrong reasons.
All right, we are getting set to go. Kickoff just moments away, and I can see from one of the monitors here in the studio it is pouring rain in Los Angeles, folks, so it's going to be a wet and sloppy pitch for this one. As we get set for the Gold Cup final, let's have a look at some of the sights and sounds from this Gold Cup tournament.
Are car prices giving you the chills? Hyundai is heating up deals with 0 down and low lease rates during the Hyundai winter price thaw. Warm up in the all-new 2000 Accent with 0 down and only $179 a month. Drive the sporty Elantra family sedan and chill with 0 down and only $239 a month. Or get into the luxurious Sonata with 0 down and a piping hot lease at just $299 a month. Save cold hard cash during the Hyundai winter price thaw at your Hyundai dealer now.
How the years, they fly by, fleeting glimpses, moments in our lives. Gotta hold on to them, catch them while you can. These are the moments, these are the moments. JVC holds the moments of our lives.
She's coming.
You're not Doris. No, I'm...
Jeff!
I'm glad you made it.
This is Jeff from McDonald's.
Hi.
I've been going so often lately, I thought he might like to join us. What?
Get to know us better with our 59-cent hamburgers on Wednesdays, 69-cent cheeseburgers on Sundays, and $1.49 McChickens on Mondays. McValue. We'll be seeing a lot of each other.
Nice uniform, man.
You too.
There's the scene at the Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles as these two teams get set for the gold medal match. Colombia in its first ever appearance in the Gold Cup against Canada in their first ever appearance beyond the preliminary round. Now we see that it's pouring rain in Los Angeles. Temperatures are cool. Advantage either side. Probably not.
I don't know. The only thing that it might affect is, obviously, if you're looking to play balls into space, it's going to be a slippery, skippy pitch. The Colombians like to play balls to feet, so it's something that may be beneficial to them.
All right, let's take you to the Coliseum now and listen to the national anthems as we get set to go. So getting set to go, you've heard "O Canada," Colombia national anthem, set to come here in the pouring rain in Los Angeles, California, and as you can see, a tiny crowd for this one. Tell there's perhaps a slightly larger Colombian contingent here in the Coliseum than there is Canadian, although the weather is maybe more befitting a rainy Vancouver winter there, Bob.
Well, we've had sun in Vancouver for the last couple of weeks, so we can't, we're quite happy about that, but it does look like a dreary Vancouver day, you're right.
All right, let's have a look at the lineups, and here's the way it sets up for Canada. And of course, the two places to watch for is up front, Martin Nash getting the start here, and in midfield, Paul Fenwick as well. So we'll have to watch how this game unfolds, and the question surrounding Nash is his fitness level, since he is unattached and has not seen the kind of action that many of the other players have seen. And for Colombia, again, Bob, the two key players, especially up front, Asprilla, number 10.
Asprilla up front and Gonzalo coming forward from the back. But it appears that Garcia, the coach, since coming in, has used this tournament as an opportunity to get a look at a lot of players, because their lineup has changed drastically from game to game.
Only 6 players started all 4 previous games for Colombia in this tournament, and he's got some new faces in the lineup again today, does Coach Garcia. So he is really experimenting, and one of the new faces is the keeper.
That's right, and that again, well, they've given up 5 goals, perhaps, and we haven't seen all of the goals that they've conceded, but perhaps there's been some soft ones in amongst them, and he's decided to have a look at Gómez.
The two captains, Jason de Vos of Dundee United on the right there for Canada, and Asprilla, the man we've talked about, the captain for Colombia. And what a great story Jason de Vos is.
Well, that's right. Captain at Dundee United, captain of this Canadian team since Holger Osieck has taken over, and he provides a great on-field presence. On the flip side, you look at Asprilla. Asprilla was out of the team up until about a month ago when there was a coaching change made. He's back in the squad now, and not only is he back in the squad, but he's the captain.
That's Diego Gómez, the keeper for this one. Miguel Calero had started most of the games previously, and there is the man for Canada who has done so much for this team, Craig Forrest of West Ham United of the English Premier League.
Craig Forrest is probably happy that he wasn't back at West Ham yesterday. I believe the final score was 5-2 at Upton Park, so he's having a good run of luck right now. I'm sure that they'll be anxious to get him back after that type of defeat.
Well, the worst thing that could have happened from Craig's personal point of view, I suppose, was that Sasha Illich would go in and play well and perhaps take the #1 job, but Forrest will likely get back in there and be between the posts for manager Harry Redknapp next week. Some hardy souls have braved these conditions for the Gold Cup final. Last year, this game was played between Mexico and the United States, and not surprisingly, in Southern California, there were 90,000 fans in the Coliseum for that game. There won't even be 9,000 by the looks of it here today. As we are underway, the Gold Cup championship match, you'll see Colombia in their yellow moving left to right, Canada in white moving right to left. Tony Menezes for Canada, plays for Botafogo in Brazil. Into the box it goes, headed out. Colombia with early pressure here, and the shot harmlessly high of the net.
Well, in fact, we talked about the condition of the field and whether or not it would be slippery and the ball would skip. I think it's rained that much that it's actually holding the ball up.
What's that they say? It never rains in Southern California. It pours, especially in the wintertime, and that's what it's doing here today, unfortunately, for this game. Mayer Candelo taking the corner kick into the box and then headed away by Canada.
And look for Colombia to play that controlled style of game, lots of short passing, lots of people around the ball, creating lots of options for the player on the ball.
Play in midfield. The thread of these games, or the storyline for most of these games from Canada's point of view, is that they get outplayed and outchanced by varying degrees in the first half, and then in the second half seem to come on while the opposing team either tires or, for whatever reason, Canada picks up the pace and gets the draw or the win, and that's happened in every game, and then the golden goal against Mexico. Foul there against Stalteri.
I think in Trinidad's case, they just got totally frustrated, and as a result of dominating the game so much, creating so many chances, Craig Forrest was absolutely outstanding, saving a penalty in the process, and Canada came away with a timely goal, and from an unlikely hero in Mark Watson as well.
Colombian player down on the pitch. Number 3 is Roberto Carlos Cortez. Have a look at what happened here. Sandwiched.
I think he actually got hit on the side of the head by his own player.
Paul Fenwick, number 2 for Canada, was up there as well, going after that one, and out comes the stretcher for Roberto Carlos Cortez. So an injury already here, just over 2 minutes played. Luis Garcia, the coach of Colombia. Here's a man who's going under his own baptism of fire. He's just new on the job.
Well, and he is the beneficiary of, in fact, a loss that Colombia's Olympic team suffered against Brazil 9-0. And as a result of that, the previous coach, Alvarez, was out, and Garcia comes in, and he's got some courage in that he's prepared to mix the lineup up, but he's obviously looking ahead to World Cup qualifying. Their first game of World Cup qualifying comes against Brazil.
Throw in here to Colombia. Again, watch for number 10, Faustino Asprilla, their talented forward. And if you listen carefully, you can actually hear the rain hitting the microphones here in the Coliseum for this broadcast. So it's a damp, dreary, miserable day right now, but the spirits of this Canadian side are soaring after what they've accomplished in this tournament. But to a man, they say they're not finished, and they won't be happy unless they come out of this with the entire championship. Menezes, number 4. Mark Watson, number 13. We'll take this one. Watson, of course, scored the only goal of the game against Trinidad and Tobago, the only goal that mattered. Colombia now countering. They'll be quick. Hastings fouled there. Hastings, the scorer of the golden goal the other night.
Canada will be relatively happy with the first 5 minutes of this game. After a flurry right from the opening kickoff, the game seems to have settled down, and most of it's being played in the middle of the park.
Fenwick. Stalteri will run down that one. Stalteri seems tireless. Plays every game as though it were his last. Colombia looking with something going here. But it's sent back to Craig Forrest, who knocks it away.
And Jeff Clarke doing a good job. It appears that he is playing on the right side of midfield and that Paul Fenwick is in the center of midfield. And Jeff Clarke does a good job tucking around there and playing the ball back to Craig Forrest.
Martin Nash. This is Brennan. Pass intercepted. It was intended for Hastings, but that's Gonzalo Martinez. Carlo Corazzin. Hastings was then looking for Nash, and that's broken up, and back come Colombia. Menezes then sets up Fenwick. But that one goes right to the keeper, Diego Gómez.
And in this early going, it's interesting to see Martin Nash coming well back into midfield to collect the ball. And it will be interesting to see if, in fact, he continues to do that, whether he's asked to play right up the middle or whether he's given a free roll and allowed to roam into areas where he can collect the ball and do what he's good at, go at people and provide passes into the front man.
Jason de Vos, the 26-year-old native of London, Ontario. 21 caps now for Canada and 1 goal. But the rock on defense for this team.
Well, the trio of De Vos, Menezes, and Watson have been rock solid at the back. And if they haven't been, then Craig Forrest has been there to make the key save when he needs to.
Luis Garcia, Colombian coach. Colombia launching an attack here. That's Asprilla, number 10. Fenwick back to defend there. Not out of danger yet as Colombia have something going, and then it's knocked for a corner by Tony Menezes.
What we saw in that sequence of play there is something that Canada are going to have to continue to do all match, and that's with when the ball is played, when a Colombian player plays the ball, the Canadian defender needs to make sure he tracks that player down.
Into the box, and the header goes over the net. So Colombia getting some opportunities here, not solid goal-scoring chances, but at least opportunities, and that's the theme that we've seen throughout this tournament.
Great. In fact, Canada got away with one there because it did come off Mark Watson on its way over the bar. Good header, heads it down. Mark Watson does well as a defender, gets in the way, and it results in going over top, but Canada get a goal kick instead of having to defend against a corner.
Craig Forrest sets the record today for Canadian goalkeepers. This is his 52nd appearance, more than any other. He now surpasses Paul Dolan. Cortez. Candelo. There's Jeff Clarke and Hastings doing good work in midfield, but away come Colombia. Menezes back, but there's a shot, and that's just off the mark. And they are quick on attack. That was number 20, Victor Bonilla.
And I've talked repeatedly about Central American countries. You'll see here, Bonilla takes it in, gets a little sight of the goal. Good job of defending, though. Menezes forces him wide enough that the shot has to be rushed, and it's actually well wide. Had it been on goal, Craig Forrest would have made the save.
Menezes, born in Scarborough, Ontario, but has lived a great deal of his life in Brazil, where he plays professionally.
But if you look at Colombia's attacks to this point, they're comfortable on the ball in midfield, but they are more incisive than the Central American countries that we've seen Canada play against.
Well, we saw with Trinidad and Tobago, they generated their chances with a lot of short passing and interweaving through the middle of the park while on attack. Here, it seems as though they're a lot quicker.
They're prepared to be very direct. Their first look is up, and if they see that there's room to play the ball in, they'll do that.
Brennan now for Canada. Working on John Perez. Canada throw in. There's Hastings. Martin Nash. Fenwick. And he launches it in there, far post. And that could have been dangerous. The keeper, Diego Gómez, unable to play that one. In fact, nobody was able to.
Good ball by Paul Fenwick from the right. Outswinging, teases the keeper off of his line. In fact, I think he just got a touch to it, which he did. Obviously, it's a corner. But a good build-up by Canada, and again, it was Martin Nash collecting the ball and picking out Paul Fenwick on the right.
Jim Brennan from East York, Ontario, sends it into the box. Jason de Vos was up, and there's a crack at it.
The Colombian defense did well to move out after the initial corner and caught two Canadian attackers offside.
Gómez now, as the rain continues to fall. It was raining lightly about a half hour before game time, but it has picked up the pace now. People out there who aren't familiar with the importance of this game, the Gold Cup tournament is the CONCACAF Championship, meaning the regional championship, and Canada has already won that by virtue of beating the last surviving team from within the region. Colombia is a guest team, which means Canada now gets an invitation to the prestigious Confederations Cup, which comes up next year, and that is a tournament that consists of all the regional champions. So they'll be playing the winner of Euro 2000, for example.
That's right, the winner of Euro 2000, the champion of South America. So that's going to be extremely good company they'll be in. And most importantly, it'll continue to provide Holger Osieck and his players the opportunity to play against the best. And you can only get better if you're doing that.
And it will also inject an infusion of funds into the program. Here's Stalteri. Around one man. Gets it in, and there's the cross into the middle. Martin Nash is there, but he can't find that one. But Canada equal with Colombia right here. And in the past, we've seen where Canada is dominated for the most part in the first half. Now, we've only played a little more than 12 minutes, but Canada doing well.
They've conceded a couple of chances, neither of them great chances that the Colombians created, but they've also generated a good attack of their own.
Martin Nash sends that one in. Again, looking for De Vos. Referee Peter Prendergast of Jamaica.
And there you see Jason de Vos getting up at the far post, being called for the foul, getting his arm on the back of the Colombian player. Jason de Vos, when Holger Osieck first started, was really benefiting from those types of set plays. I think he's got himself a bit of a reputation now, and other teams are well aware of his attacking prowess, and not only are they marking him closely, they're sometimes putting two players on him, which is making it very difficult for him.
This is Cortez. Martinez. Perez. John Perez. Most of the Colombian players play domestically in Colombia. Stalteri involved there, can't come away with that one, but Canada does. Brennan now.
And the Canadian midfield are doing a very good job of stifling attacks. And they seem to be farther advanced than they have been in previous games. They're getting pushed up and engaging the Colombians closer to their goal.
Nash working there on his opponent. Colombia beat Jamaica by a score of 1-0. Then they lost to Honduras by a score of 2-0, and many people were picking Honduras as one of the favorites, but they eventually got knocked out. Colombia went on to play the United States as Canada comes back here with Richard Hastings doing some fine work. Brennan. Colombia went on to play the United States in the quarterfinal match. They were 2-2 after extra time. It went to penalty kicks, and the Americans simply couldn't find the net, and so Colombia advanced after that. And then against Peru in their semifinal matches, this one comes in, but off the mark and goes for a goal kick. And in their semifinal match, they were rather fortunate against Peru as well, getting an own goal.
So they appear to have been inconsistent, and that's almost exemplified by the fact that the coach appears to be chopping and changing quite a bit, and they probably can't find a rhythm. If not, they don't have the same personnel game in and game out.
Well, most coaches will tell you everything is preparation for World Cup qualifying. Martin Nash now comes away. And for Colombia, World qualifying is even more of an urgency than it is for Canada, because they have to start basically right away, and their first game is against Brazil. How do you want to start World Cup qualifying like that?
And they didn't have to face Brazil in qualifying for World Cup '98 because Brazil were obviously the champions and didn't have to get involved in the playdowns.
Mark Watson now, Oxford United in England. Stalteri, just 22 years old, plays in Germany, Werder Bremen.
Stalteri also a member of Canada's Olympic team that will be seeing action later on in March, attempting to get through the first round of Olympic qualifying.
Ball looked as though it was going to go Canada's way for an offensive four-way, but the foul here committed by Watson.
Mark Watson, if you're going to beat Mark Watson, you're going to pay the price. The Colombian made it look much worse than what it was, but all Mark did was get an arm across him to stop his forward progress.
Here's a good-looking foray by Jim Brennan. Tries to get it across. Too many Colombian players there. Another shot from Stalteri, and that's deflected wide.
Canada are looking the better side right now. Good build-up, a nice break down the left by Jim Brennan. Tried to pick out Carlo Corazzin, I believe, at the far post. Cut out by a Colombian defender, bounces down. Stalteri does well to keep the ball down, but well wide of the target.
Some interesting things here from Canada, as that shot was actually deflected by Corazzin inadvertently, I believe. Here's Watson now. Colombia back on the ball. Martinez is number 5. Bonilla. Working on him is Tony Menezes.
And the back three for Canada seem to have such a good understanding, because you'll often see Menezes out on the left, out on the right. You'll see Mark Watson out on the right. So they don't play static, but they've got a good enough understanding amongst the three of them that they cover the last line of defense very, very comfortably.
With one player sent back to his Colombian team, that's Carlos Esprilla, not to be confused with Faustino, and with Jorge Bolaño ineligible because of 2 yellow cards. That means that Colombia is only starting 4 players today who have started now every game in this tournament. So that gives you an indication of the number of lineup changes the head coach has made here going into the final. Martin Nash heading that one on for Jim Brennan. Can't come down with it. It's Gonzalo Martinez breaking the other way. Perez. Close quarters there. Fenwick inadvertently puts it onto the feet of a Colombian, and that was an opportunity that's still not out of danger here yet. Play on, says the referee, as Faustino Espriu is looking for the foul.
Looking for the foul, and perhaps could have got it.
Deserving it. A late tackle there by Jason de Vos, I believe. He's the closest man to him on the replay.
And that's where the field is beginning to play havoc with this game. The ball is taking some unusual bounces.
Colombia now will put it back in play. Just about 20 minutes gone in the first half. Canada even Steven here with Colombia. And Faustino Espriu has been cautioned for arguing that non-call from a moment ago. So now he'll have to watch himself. Nash heads it to Fenwick.
Martin Nash doing a great job, almost fitting in between the midfield and front. He's collected a lot of balls in that area, and he's actually keeping his team in possession, much more so than they were against Trinidad in the last game. Ironically enough, the 2 more difficult games that Canada faced on paper would be Mexico and this Colombian team today. And this performance right now is equally as good as the performance they put in against Mexico, if they can continue in this vein.
Well, and against Trinidad and Tobago, where they were outplayed for the most part, Holger, Osieck, and the players admitted they did not play well. And that showed in the shots on goal. In Canada, perhaps fortunate. And how close is that to being offside? It is
very, very close, but just offside, just slightly ahead of the last Colombian defender.
Colombia back now, and they are quick, and they always seem to have a couple of players up. Broken up effectively there. This is Menezes for Canada.
And Menezes demonstrating both sides of his game. Firstly, a timely tackle to disrupt the Colombian attack, and then secondly, coming out, keeping possession and playing the ball sideways, not necessarily forward, but playing it sideways and keeping his team in possession. So a good all-round player in Tony Menezes.
Here's Watson again. Most capped player on this team. 7th all-time for Canada. Here's Corazzin. Working on Andrés Mosquera. Into the box, he was looking for Stalteri, but Colombia effectively clear that.
Good challenge by Mark Watson. And one thing that Canada is doing slightly differently, well, good challenge, 2-footed challenge and a foul, but certainly the Colombian attackers are going to know that they're not going to get a lot of time on the ball, and that's something that Canada are doing very well. They're actually advancing that last line of defense, and they're getting challenges in around the halfway line and in the Colombian half.
Canada appearing to have more energy than they did against Trinidad and Tobago. Perhaps that was nervousness. They knew how important that game was, winning the CONCACAF championship. But here come Colombia now. But again, broken up by Menezes, who's always cool under pressure. Brennan. Back to De Vos, who knocks it clear for Nash. Stalteri. Hastings. Puts it in again, but knocked away.
Stalteri in this game has been the most effective, I believe, in any of the games that he's played in thus far. Tireless worker, but what he's done today is he's actually got on the ball, got himself into advanced positions, and also, in terms of his passing, he's keeping his team in possession.
Fenwick and Corazzin teaming up there, but it's Colombia's throw-in. Cortez. And we have another caution, perhaps, for Paul Fenwick.
Whilst we're on Paul Fenwick, it appeared early on that he was playing in the center of midfield. It appears that he might have picked up a yellow card there, but Jeff Clarke seems to be operating from a more central midfield role now and has been from the first 5 minutes on. So it appears that Fenwick is on the right, Clarke is in the middle.
Perez is number 14, but he puts that one right on the foot of a Canadian player who puts it right back to Colombia. That was Jeff Clarke who gave that one up. Jeff Clarke has been rather silent so far. Here's Watson now, who has been in the middle of it since the opening kickoff. Brennan.
Canada doing a good job of using the entire width of the field. They're staying patient. They're not looking to simply just play it forward. They're playing side to side, and they're trying to hang on to the ball, which in previous games they haven't done a lot of. And Colombia have not adjusted to the turf.
And they've not adjusted to Canada's attacks here so far. That was Jeff Clarke sending one wide back into the box. Corazzin and Nash are both there. Not out of danger as far as Colombia is concerned. Here's Brennan.
Well, Canada again looking very, very comfortable at this point, getting lots of players forward. Marty Nash has made a big difference.
And Paul Fenwick was cautioned there a moment ago, as you can see now. Brennan puts it back in. Colombia's ball this time.
Marty Nash suggesting that the ball, whoever threw the ball in on that occasion, and I couldn't quite tell, he would have liked them to have held on to it for a bit longer so that he could have got in front of the Colombian defender. Nash already made his presence felt. Every time he's got the ball, he's hung on to it and brought other players into the game.
And what a big day it was. I guess it's a week ago now where Steve Nash helped the Dallas Mavericks to an important win over the Toronto Raptors. He played extremely well, and then later in the day, it was brother Martin Nash setting up the 2 goals that did in Mexico. And of course, those games both seen here on CTV, the basketball game on the main network and the soccer game here on Sportsnet.
And whilst you were referring to the Nash family, we just saw a wonderful crossfield ball from Jim Brennan. A good 50-yard ball right onto the foot of Paul Fenwick.
Here's Colombia now regrouping.
And Colombia right now appear to not have too many answers to this Canadian defense.
Stumbling over their own passes there allows Canada to come back with Brennan. He's taken down by Gonzalo Martinez.
And Martinez is asking the referee to give Brennan a yellow card for taking a dive.
Which will happen from time to time.
Oh, it will happen. Never, maybe a slight touch, but not enough to send him to the ground as harshly as he did go down.
Well, and this ground is more inviting to go down on when it's soft and soggy like this. It's not so hard. John Perez, 14, gives it up. Canada taking over. Here's Stalteri. Back to Watson. Canada coming forward again. Here's Colombia back. Cortez.
And the referee Prendergast from Jamaica has done a very good job thus far. He was the same referee that officiated the Mexico game. And I spoke to the physiotherapist, Alice McKechnie, after that game, and he said that he did a great job of controlling that game, and he's doing a good job today. He's letting both teams play. He's not being fooled by the dives that players are attempting to take, and allowing the match to simply free flow.
Number 17, Meyer Candelo on Jeff Clarke.
Clarke did everything right except he had too long a tug on the jersey, and that gave the referee an opportunity to call a free kick.
Here's Stalteri. Lots of time. Nobody challenging him until he lays off his pass, which is intercepted. That one intended for Hastings.
And that was a good effort. Although it got cut out, Stalteri trying to play a through ball and trying to split the Colombian defense, which is something that hasn't happened, not necessarily just from Paul Stalteri, but in general, the Canadians have not gotten themselves into those types of positions. They are today.
Perez now, sending it forward. Esprilla. Gonzalo Martinez. There's Esprilla again. He's got help up front. There's Perez. Sends it back into the box. Still alive for Colombia. Still alive. And it's knocked away at the last minute in front of Craig Forrest. Colombia with some pressure here with just about a half an hour gone. Martinez. And that's taken over by Canada with Jeff Clarke.
So again, a good job by the referee Prendergast.
Colombia very quick up front, but it seems as though when Canada has the ball, they break down a little bit defensively, allowing Canada a lot of room.
Well, we talked off the top about Colombia conceding 5 goals. And that's a lot of goals in 4 games.
Mayer Candelo. Perez. John Wilmer Perez.
Great job by Canada defending. Look at Jeff Clarke just simply standing up and saying to the Colombian, not necessarily saying, but by his body language saying, okay, you come and commit me. They're doing a very good job of just holding off, waiting for the Colombians to make that first move.
Here's De Vos now. Looking for Corazzin. It went over him. Nash lays it off to Hastings. Stalteri. Back to Clarke. And then Fenwick. Back come Colombia. They're starting to establish themselves offensively, perhaps, but not doing anything once they get in close.
Well, one of the disappointing things from my point of view is the fact that Colombia are trying a lot of flicks. They're not necessarily just playing the simple ball, and as a result of the flicks, they seem to be losing possession far too easily for a team the stature of Colombia.
24th ranked in the world they are.
And I think the field obviously is posing a problem for them because they're not keeping the possession you would assume that a country like Colombia would be able to do.
Corazzin. Then it was Brennan for Nash, but Colombia now take over again. Half an hour gone, 0-0, Canada, Colombia. Gold Cup championship match. Canada's first ever championship match, for that matter. This is Brennan.
Canada at this stage have adapted better to the field conditions. That probably because of the fact that a lot of these guys coming over from Europe, primarily from England and Scotland, are used to playing in these types of conditions. The Colombians aren't.
De Vos. Several of these players, the under-23 players, will next hook up with the Olympic team in March for the first round of qualifying for the Sydney Olympics. The next match for the senior side will be a friendly at Varsity Stadium in Toronto against Trinidad and Tobago before they kick off their World Cup qualifying in June. And here comes Colombia, and a shot there is a very poor effort.
A rather fortunate bounce for Colombia, but in the end, Esprilla with a shot well off target. You see Esprilla lining up, and from that distance and that angle, it would have to be a very, very good shot to beat Craig Forrest the way that he's playing right now. Craig Forrest has had very little to do. By 30 minutes into the match against Trinidad, he'd had a lot to do. In this particular game, he's done more verbally than physically. He's obviously the last line of defense, and I think he's done a good job of organizing people in front of him.
Craig Forrest, the all-star goalkeeper for this tournament, and with good reason.
Look at Menezes again, coming across, seeing the danger, and snuffing it out.
Stalteri and Clarke both working there, but Colombia ends up with the ball before it's cleared away again. The back three of Canada, once again, proving to be one of the strong points of this team. Colombia coming through again, but they hit that line, and it's the end of the line. Good ball possession here, but good possession by Colombia. 16 is Bonner Mosquera. There are two Mosqueras in the lineup, and a through ball there sends Colombia into the box, and again knocked out of harm's way. But Colombia now starting to find room in behind.
Well, and that's the danger. The ball was played inside the Canadian defender. If you recall back to the first game, the second Costa Rica goal, similar type of play, in behind the defender. The ball should never go that side.
And here they come again, and that's offside. But the point is, they're coming on now in the last quarter of an hour of this game, first half.
Good job by Canada's last defender to stay up. You can see the arms go up in the air, and the Colombian attacker is a good 2 to 3 yards offside.
Holger Osieck, unbeaten in 10.
And not looking anywhere near as distressed as, not necessarily distressed, but as anxious as he did against Trinidad last Thursday night.
Foul there as Fenwick was going up for that ball, and referee Peter Prendergast calls that one.
Just a little nudge to draw the foul. This will give Canada a chance to get Fenwick, Watson, and De Vos all up for this set play.
Once again, Paul Peschisolido, Canada's striker, unable to go today because of a lingering groin injury, which has come back a little more serious. And so Martin Nash gets the start. Davide Xausa, midfielder who has played so strongly for Canada. He has worked so very hard each and every game. I thought was especially good against Trinidad and Tobago. He is unable to go because of a shoulder problem. Paul Fenwick starts.
Look at the back post. Look at Jason de Vos.
Number 5 is de Vos. Watson's there.
It's a great
ball.
It's
in there, but nothing is able to come of that one.
I don't know whether there was an offside call there or not, but that's a good ball in from Jim Brennan. A fastball, perhaps skipped a little bit faster than it would have done had the field been dry. But you could see, prior to that free kick being taken, the special attention that Jason de Vos was attracting.
And so now Diego Gómez will launch one. Colombia will take over here. Canadian team had an interesting visitor the other day. Shaquille O'Neal of the Los Angeles Lakers dropped by and handed out tickets to the Lakers game this past Friday night. And of course, Shaq has a bit of a special relationship with the Canadian team.
Well, he does. Alex McKechnie, the Canadian physio, was treating Shaquille O'Neal for the pelvic problem that he had. He couldn't seem to recover from that, and after a year's treatment with Alex McKechnie, he's now back at 100%.
And so Shaq coming by to give the lads a special treat Friday night. Gómez. Martinez clears. Stalteri now for Canada. With Corazzin. We'll try to work that one for a corner. Doesn't happen.
Perhaps a good indicator of how much play Canada have had is the fact that we've seen an awful lot of Martin Nash. And I'm inclined to think that he's been given almost a free role. He hasn't necessarily just stayed up front. He's come deeper into midfield to look for the ball. And I think if that's the case, it's a great tactic because he's on the ball and we see him there again.
And we'll see how much gas he has left in the tank for the second half, whether Holger Osieck will make a move or whether he'll go with Nash as long as Nash feels he's capable.
Well, as long as Nash keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to leave him in there.
Stalteri now, as Canada looking good with the ball in the offensive zone. Hastings stumbled a little there, however, and Colombia content to knock it away. Stalteri, who seems to be everywhere.
Stalteri's had his best game of the tournament thus far.
Headed on there for Canada, and a shot by Nash, and the ball is still available. Eventually that one was called, but my goodness.
Best chance of the game thus far. Carlo Corazzin getting up and flicking it on into the path of Martin Nash. And Gómez does very well to save that point-blank shot. And then Nash tries to recover and unfortunately commits the foul.
And Gómez comes out of that one grabbing his arm or his wrist.
May have been the strength of Nash's shot.
Well, and then the follow-up shot, too, so he took two in a row out of the left wrist.
Great opportunity
Right
for
wrist.
Nash. He does well, keeps it down, and credit Gómez with an outstanding save. That's the best chance of the match thus far, and it's fallen to Canada.
Some encouraging signs here for Canada as time winds down in the first half. The best scoring opportunity, perhaps. But it remains 0-0. Martin Nash.
Well, Nash has not had a lot of time in this tournament, but the time that he has had has been quality time. The match against Mexico, he came on very late against Trinidad, didn't factor into that one too much, but certainly today, he's been the thrust of most of Canada's attacks.
Colombia now bothered by that buzzing bee, Pal Stalteri. Gonzalo Martinez lays it off to Perez. Tricky little footwork here from Colombia. Esprilla ends up losing it to Mark Watson, who was right there for the challenge. Fenwick now. For Corazzin. No dice. Arly Dinas, right there, number 19.
As we wind down in this half, I think that this has been Canada's best run of soccer throughout this tournament. They've won games, they've had their good share of good luck, but in this particular game, they're full value. They're keeping comfortable possession. They've created the best chance of the game. They're really thwarting anything that Colombia are sending at them. If they can keep this up for 90 minutes, they've got a great chance of winning this game.
Mosquera. Canada with Xausa on the bench, although he's not able to start, he is on the bench. Holger Osieck also has Dwayne De Rosario at his disposal. Elvis Thomas. Fenwick. And he went down nasty there.
I think the Colombian left his foot in there a little longer than he needed to.
Once again, another Colombian attack. Broken up. Stalteri knocks it out of bounds. So we'll see what happens here with Fenwick.
I think he got it on the shin, whether it was shin to shin or foot over top of the ball. We get a chance to see here. It wasn't a nasty tackle. I think just Fenwick's momentum on the slide carried him into the foot of the Colombian player. Look appears to be just a knock at this point. Let's see how severe it is.
Rain continues to pour down here as Canada continue to play with Craig Forrest. Fenwick back on his feet. Jeff Clarke there in the foreground. Another one of the young players on this team.
Jeff Clarke, other than Martin Nash, the only other player that's unattached, but I would think after this tournament he's going to have a very good chance of hooking up with the team.
Here come Colombia. 20 is Victor Bonilla. Sends it into the middle, but once again, there's always a white shirt there, it seems, to knock it out of harm's way.
Bonilla, very, very anxious and seeming to want to shoot before he really needed to, because that was an awful angle he was hitting the ball from, and it didn't appear to be a cross. And the other thing that's a little surprising with these Colombian attacks is that they're snatching at chances, and maybe that's because they're not getting a lot of good chances, and the Canadians are frustrating them.
Well, they've been a hard side to figure in this tournament, running hot and cold, a lot of roster changes, game in and game out, new faces. Don't know if Garcia is thinking ahead to World Cup qualifying, new on the job, wanting to see what he has at his disposal, I suppose, but you don't want to go in and lose the Gold Cup final because you're playing around with your lineup.
Well, the problem for Garcia are the expectations that coaches are put under in countries in South America. And he can say that he's looking ahead to World Cup qualifying, but if he suffers a few bad results along the way, he may be out of a job.
Here come the Colombians again. Again down that left side, which they seem to be able to exploit a little bit, working on Menezes, who's there again.
Menezes again, not the quickest of players, but always seems to get his body in the right position.
Stalteri coughing that one up, and Colombia had another opportunity, but Canada recovering here.
Colombia, for a 30-second spell, they seem to be picking up all the loose balls. There you see Marty Nash again, well back into midfield. And I think that, again, if that's by design, it's a good tactic, because he's able to pick up balls in the middle of the park that he wouldn't be able to if he were just simply sat up front.
Carlo Corazzin, the victim on that one by Martin Zapata. Clarke. Far side for Fenwick. Launches one in for Corazzin. Stalteri now in position. And that shot gets away on him.
Corazzin's had a great tournament thus far. Good flighted ball in from the right by Paul Fenwick. And Corazzin gets up, and he's a wonderful header of the ball. And it's not that he's tall, it's just that his timing is great. He gets up and knocks that ball down to Pal Stalteri, who unfortunately couldn't get over top of it.
Fenwick back in for Corazzin. Fenwick, who's been very active in this first half as well. And that will go for a corner for Canada.
Paul Fenwick is a player that's playing out of position, but as you say, he's actually been involved quite a lot in the build-up down the right.
Carlo Corazzin will wait inside the box for this from Martin Nash. And a header on it there, and that might have been it. That is a goal for Canada. The header, was it Jason de Vos?
It was Jason de Vos at the far post, getting up and doing what he's good at.
Canada have taken a 1-0 lead late in the first half here. We're at about 45 minutes off a corner kick from Martin Nash. Jason de Vos at the far post. It's a set piece Canada uses every time, and this time it worked.
Well, and we saw from the earlier set play the attention that de Vos was attracting. Even though they know the ball's going to him, he does a great job, and he's one-on-one at the back post, heads it down perfectly, and Gómez can't handle it. But what Jason de Vos did on that occasion was he came very late. He didn't stand in the space. He came from a long way back and was able to get up, well up over the Colombian defender.
Well, Jason de Vos is 6'4", 205 pounds.
Great header.
At 6'4", 205 pounds, Jason de Vos is able to get up and over top of everybody, and Canada have the lead here as we approach the end of the first half.
And not only do they have the lead, but they're full value for the lead at this point as well. They've had the best chance prior to the goal and are playing very, very well.
This is his 21st appearance for Canada. He now has 2 goals. And Canada in the driver's seat here. And we'll see what Colombia have now to answer this.
And the thing that Jason de Vos did differently on that occasion, and that's the half.
So the first half ended as we were busy showing replays, but Jason de Vos is the man of the moment here on a header off a corner kick from Martin Nash, who has been integral every time he has come into play, and he was important here today. So once again, Jason de Vos has given Canada the lead. It's 1-0 over Colombia at the half. Our halftime show coming up.
Our car prices giving you the chills? Hyundai is heating up deals with 0 down and low lease rates during the Hyundai winter price thaw. Warm up in the all-new 2000 Accent with 0 down and only $179 a month. Drive the sporty Elantra family sedan and chill with 0 down and only $239 a month. Or get into the luxurious Sonata with 0 down and a piping hot lease of just $299 a month. Save cold hard cash during the Hyundai winter price thaw at your Hyundai dealer now.
Can't decide? Unable to make a choice? Hey, don't sweat it, because now at McDonald's in Canada, your favorite extra value meals are only 2 for $6.99. Choose from all the classics like Big Mac, Quarter Pounder with Cheese, McChicken, Filet-O-Fish, and the Big Extra. 2 can dine for $6.99 after 4 p.m. every day. McValue, we'll be seeing a lot of each other. So next time, make sure you bring a friend who can make decisions.
Oh, me olive oil's in trouble. I need something hearty and I needs it now. Chunky with prime rib and vegetables. Perfect. Will you look at that? Big chunks of prime rib and wholesome vegetables. Oh, skittle-da-bung, that really hit the spot. Oops, coming, Olive! It's a very big deal. Soup that eats like a meal. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
Canada is on a roll, and that roll continues here in the final. Jason de Vos is celebrating his goal. It's 1-0 at the half. Well, that was an interesting first half, to say the least. Canada perhaps performing better than they have at any point during the tournament. I think Bob would agree with that. Let's check in now with Alf de Blasses, who's been following this team right from the outset. Alf is live on the field at the Coliseum. And Alf, from your point of view, I guess it's the same thing. This is the best they've played.
Absolutely, Jerry. I ran into Kevin Muldoon as he was coming off the field. He's the Canadian team trainer, and he said, our best match thus far. I have to agree. It's been an outstanding first half for Canada. They're playing very disciplined defensively. They have held Colombia to only a couple of scoring chances. They've created scoring chances themselves, and of course, they certainly put one through right at the very end. Outstanding match for Canada so far.
Alf, the condition of the field, the fact that it's soaked, Canada seems to have adjusted better than what Colombia have. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. We certainly have adapted much better to the conditions. We're certainly much more controlled in terms of our passing and pushing the ball up forward, and certainly the slickness has not affected our players as much. I can only think back to what Tony Menezes told me in an interview a couple of days ago. He said, you know, if we can keep Colombia, keep them shut down for the first 15 minutes of the match, we've got a good chance. Boy, were those words prophetic. Canada certainly has a terrific chance to win this championship today.
Alf, we were speculating perhaps beforehand what kind of a crowd there'd be. We knew it would be small, and we thought perhaps it might be pro-Canada with Colombia not having a strong population in Southern California, but it appears as though it is a pro-Colombian crowd, doesn't it?
In fact, there is a fairly large contingent of Colombian fans, and the small number of Canadian fans with the Canadian flags have been challenging them every step of the way. They're loud, they're vocal, and they're here, and they're giving Canada a lot of support.
Alf, you've got the benefit of seeing the whole field. It appears to me, or it appears to us, that Martin Nash almost has a free role. He's getting back into midfield a lot. Can you tell us if that's the case, if in fact that he is roaming the field as opposed to just staying up front?
I was gonna mention exactly the same thing, Bob. He certainly has provided a lot more weight and pace up front, and he's a good distributor of the ball. He has great vision. He's been using Jimmy Brennan on his left quite often, and they have good interplay, and I think Marty is going to be a very crucial player the rest of the way.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alf, for your observations. Enjoy the second half. Stay dry, and we'll see you at the end of the game.
We'll try.
Okay, once again, it's Canada leading Colombia by a score of 1-0 at the half, and we will continue with our halftime show. A sports update from Sports Central coming your way in just a few moments. Canada 1, Colombia 0.
When I was younger, I did some pretty foolish things, like work on my own car. Sometimes I did more harm than good. Today, I'd no sooner know what to do under there than how to perform brain surgery. So I trust my car and my family safety to a professional. Charlie works on over 350 different models, and they change every year. He knows as much about cars as doctors do about people. That's why I put my trust in him and the top quality CarQuest auto parts he uses.
How the years, they fly by, fleeting glimpses, moments in our lives. Gotta hold on to them, catch them while you can. These are the moments, these are the moments. JVC holds the moments of our lives.
Team Canadian Fantasy Camp, where Canadian hockey greats will train you and 5 friends in skating, shooting, conditioning, and other fine points of the game. Look for a red bottle in specially marked cases of Molson Canadian, plus a collectible Roots 2 free in every case. Team Canadian Fantasy Camp.
It's a Canadian game.
No purchase necessary, must be legal drinking age.
Punch, 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 knee, 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 jack, kick, punch, 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 go, 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 knee, knee, in.
Subway has 7 fresh value meals with just 8 grams of fat or less, while a Big Mac extra value meal has 49. Subway, the way a sandwich should be.
Chew, chew, chew.
When I was younger, I did some pretty foolish things, like work on my own car. Sometimes I did more harm than good. Today, I'd no sooner know what to do under there than how to perform brain surgery. So I trust my car and my family safety to a professional. Charlie works on over 350 different models, and they change every year. He knows as much about cars as doctors do about people. That's why I put my trust in him and the top quality CarQuest auto parts he uses.
Hi, everybody. I'm Darren Dreger in the CTV Sportsnet studio. Back to the Los Angeles Coliseum in just a moment. Huge day for Canadian soccer and a significant date for national curling as well. The Scott Tournament of Hearts final underway in Prince George, BC. Ontario's Anne Merklinger facing Kelly Law's BC team in this championship final.
And she has...
Our coverage begins on the 4th end. 2-1 Ontario. Law sitting one with the hammer, looking for the inside roll for 2. They're brushing hard. It rolls too far. BC still gets 1 point to tie it at 2. Go to the 5th end. Ontario needs to draw 8-foot for a single point to get out of trouble. But Anne Merklinger comes up way short. BC steals 2 and a 4-2 lead. 6th end, Merklinger trying the double takeout.
When they say clean spine, that means they've got it.
Well, she gets a takeout for 2 anyway, and Ontario ties it at 4. BC, though, has broken this one open. 7-4 they lead in the 8th end, looking for a spot. On to the Raptors and the Phoenix Suns. Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock at ACC today. There to watch this man, Vince Carter. First half, Vince getting to the outside, and he gets his game going from long range, not once, but twice. 3 threes in the half, 25 points at the break. Raptors by 6 at halftime. Third quarter, T-Mac throws up the alley-oop, and it's Vince who throws it down. Wow. Raptors lead 62-57. The Suns respond, though. Jason Kidd pulls up and hits part of a 15-6 run that ties the game at 72. Butch Carter looking to the playbook. Suns by 3 after 3. In the 4th, the Raptors respond. They go on a 10-1 run led by Moore Carter. The leader from the baseline, and the Raps are up by 2. Then Carter drives to the double team. He lays it in. He finished with a career-high 51 points. That's also a league high this year. After the Raps built a 9-point lead, the Suns come back. Rodney Rogers with a rainmaker for 3. And the lead's down to 1.
1-point game.
Then Phoenix with a chance, down by 1, under 10 seconds left. Rogers stripped of the ball. The Raptors recover. Vince Carter giddy as the Raps hang on to win this thing, 103-102. That snaps a 3-game losing skid at Air Canada Centre as Vince Carter sets an NBA high with 51 points. Don't forget, the early edition is coming your way. We will have all of the coverage coming up from the Gold Cup action at the LA Coliseum, more on the 4 continents and figure skating, and of course, the conclusion to the Scott Tournament of Hearts. We'll take you back to LA Coliseum after this.
En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo, gracias a nuestro Señor Jesucristo, el amor del Padre y la comunión del Espíritu Santo sea contigo, Marco, y también con tu calzado. Amén.
Muchas gracias, Padre, por su bendición.
Buena suerte.
Are car prices giving you the chills? Hyundai is heating up deals with 0 down and low lease rates during the Hyundai winter price thaw. Warm up in the all-new 2000 Accent with 0 down and only $179 a month. Drive the sporty Elantra family sedan and chill with 0 down and only $239 a month. Or get into the luxurious Sonata with 0 down and a piping hot lease of just $299 a month. Save cold hard cash during the Hyundai winter price thaw at your Hyundai dealer now.
It's a Canadian game.
During our pregame show, we had an internet contest, and the question was, who will score first for Canada? The answer, of course, is Jason de Vos. And the winner of our contest, congratulations to Martin de Gross. Wherever you are, we don't know since this was an internet contest, but you've just won yourself an autographed national team jersey provided by Adidas. That jersey will be coming back with the team tomorrow, and we'll get that one out to you as soon as we can. Thanks a lot for participating, everyone, and congratulations once again to Martin de Gross. Now, Bob, we've been talking about the set pieces that Holger uses on penalty kicks, where Jason de Vos is always up there. And if you scout Canada, you know he's going to be there, so you wonder if maybe Osieck should be trying some new looks, but obviously it pays off when it needs to, and it did today.
Well, look at the distance that de Vos runs on. He comes from way back this time and gets up and gets well up over the ball. What he did differently to the previous occasion, previous free kick we saw, was he didn't stand in at that space. He ran into it and propelled himself up into the air. As far as do you continue to use this, why not? If you recall back to the Mexico game, to the Costa Rica game, it was Jason de Vos at the far post that headed it down for Carlo Corazzin to score the great bicycle kick. So he's always going to be the first look. He's such a handful to defend against.
And perhaps the keeper not playing that one all that well either, and maybe they didn't line up properly for that one. At any rate, it's Canada leading Colombia 1-0 as we get set to go now. The teams are back out for the start of the second half. Can you believe it? Canada just 45 minutes away from winning the Gold Cup. Had I said that 2 weeks ago, you'd say I was crazy.
And Martin Nash has half answered the question of whether he can maintain his game for 90 minutes. He was all over the place in the first half, and I would think that at this point, if he can continue to do that, he's going to see 90 minutes. And hopefully we don't require more than 90 minutes today.
Carlo Corazzin, who has scored 3 goals in this tournament. Nash, who hasn't scored one, but he has set up 3 huge goals. They're all important for Canada as we get set to go now with the second half in the pouring rain at the Los Angeles Coliseum. And a foul there immediately, and so Colombia will take over after Craig Forrest launched one downfield. Now, does Canada do anything differently in the second half? I would think not. Just keep playing the same game.
I can't. There's no reason for them to sit back. This Colombian team, I would think, is a better team than what they showed in the first half, but they've had a lot of trouble dealing with the wet surface, and I think they're frustrated right now, so there's no reason for Canada to surrender that initiative at this point.
And there's an opportunity there.
And there's
went awry, and Fenwick takes over.
Another good example, though, of good one-touch passing, and then at the end of it all, they're trying to flick the ball around the back, and they've done that on numerous occasions instead of just playing it simple. Every now and again, you expect them to flick it, but they've been doing it so often in this match, and in the end, more often than not, they're giving the ball up.
14 is Perez. De Vos now. Chips one over, near side for Fenwick. Watson. Off Aspria.
Well, Jason de Vos now is added to the list of unlikely goal scorers. You've got De Vos scoring today. You've got Mark Watson getting the winner against Trinidad. You've got Richard Hastings getting the winner against Mexico. And aside from that, Carlo Corazzin's 3 goals.
This team has been surprising in so many ways, notwithstanding the goals that they've scored and where they've come from. And if you're a hardcore Canadian soccer fan, the next 43 minutes will be the longest of your life, I'm sure, as Jeff Clarke comes down the right side. He's got Stalteri there in the middle, and a cross, and an opportunity here. Canada moving way up. And then Fenwick fluffs on that one a little bit, and Colombia come back.
Once again, great patience by the Canadians in attack.
And here's a break now for Colombia, but effectively defense there by Watson, and now Menezes comes back. Number 20 there for Colombia, Victor Bonilla with a good burst.
Bonilla got the wrong side of Mark Watson and was looking for a foul, but in fact all that happened was he overran the ball. And Menezes, as he has done throughout this tournament, comes across and cleans up.
But that is one thing that Canada perhaps might have to be very wary of, is their speed up the middle and long passes.
Well, and that's something they've defended well against thus far.
And here they come again, and the ball goes clear across the goal mouth this time.
Colombia enjoying a lively start to the second half. Although not getting a real good opportunity, they're finding their way in behind the Canadian defense in the first minutes of the second half.
Craig Forrest now. Martin Nash, what a story he has become for Canada. As Hector Hurtado, number 7, is into the game for Colombia. Stalteri, Fenwick. Headed on by Nash. In the pouring rain at Los Angeles, it started before game time. It has not let up. Stalteri working on his man, number 17. And Colombia come back again. Hurtado is in for Bonner Mosquera, number 16. Colombia pushing forward. And the header, not even close.
And the size of the crowd obviously well down as a result of Mexico and the Americans not advancing to this stage. But it's something that the Canadians certainly are used to. Even when we play at home, we play in front of smaller crowds, so it certainly won't affect us. The Colombians, on the other hand, when they play home games in Colombia, the stadiums are full. But I don't think in the end that is a factor in how the teams have played thus far. It's just that Canada will be far more used to playing in front of these sides of crowds than the opposition.
Peter Prendergast says Canada's ball, Jeff Clarke. He'll leave it. Mark Watson will do it. Many of these players, of course, will disperse right after this game and head back to their club teams, where several of them are sorely missed right now. Hastings. He plays in Scotland.
And you look at a player like Richard Hastings prior to the tournament, probably wondered how much time he would get. Now, and not only is he playing, but he's playing in a position unfamiliar to him, but has done a great job in central midfield. In fact, he's played that well that he's allowed Holger Osieck to go from playing a 4-4-2 because he didn't feel that he had the personnel in the middle of the park to playing back to the comfortable 3-5-2 that the team and he are used to.
Colombia now. Candelo. Back to him, and he feeds it into the middle, and it goes back to Candelo, and in they come again. But once again, they're not going anywhere with those Canadian jerseys all around.
4 white shirts around them at that point.
Mark Watson, who has been solid. Hadn't played every game for Canada over the course of the last year, but he's been very solid here in the Gold Cup. Whoa. And he took a heel from Asprilla to the head.
A high foot.
Fortunately, Watson was on the very end of it and didn't get it flush in the forehead. Fenwick heads that one on. Corazzin can't do anything with it. Canada opened this tournament with a 2-2 draw against Costa Rica, in which they were outplayed, admittedly, but came back to tie. Then it was a 0-0 draw against South Korea. After a coin toss put them through, since they were tied in all aspects with South Korea, they went on to play Mexico in the quarterfinals. And you know what happened there as Colombia comes back here now. Good work, but eventually the footwork is a little too fancy as Jeff Clarke clears.
Well, they're getting to the edge of the box, but they just can't seem to break down that last line of Canadian defense. The field has been a factor on some occasions, but just poor play on most of the other occasions.
Into the box and knocked away by a diving Martin Nash, I think it was.
It is Martin Nash, and that gives you an example.
Bad play there, though, allowing Colombia to send it into the box. Canada fortunate on that one. Stalteri then knocks it back the other way, and Colombia will still be in possession.
Canada just, for the last 30 seconds to a minute, have been harassed in their own end, and they're having to make some hasty clearances.
Colombia coming on a little bit here as Canada is back on their heels. Fenwick. Stalteri. Watson. Corazzin.
And aside from scoring goals, that's where Carlo Corazzin is at his best, with his back to goal, kept possession, and forces a Canada throw-in.
Taking a hard knock there from Aristodemo.
Good challenge. Both players go down, but certainly not a foul.
Fenwick in for Nash.
And on the way past, it must have clipped the Colombian player because Canada have another corner.
Peter Prendergast of Jamaica, the referee for this one today. Canada setting up for a corner kick early in the second half, leading by a score of 1-0, and a late goal by Jason de Vos towards the end of the first half. That corner kick is taken easily by Diego Gómez. Colombia unable to find their way through this Canadian defense.
And there's a good example of the frustration that appears to be resulting in the Colombian camp. The goalkeeper simply just kicks the ball off the side of the field.
Jim Brennan. Stalteri. All the way back to Watson. Middle of the park to Nash, who lays it off for Clarke. Canada coming on nicely with good possession. Brennan. And Hastings with a cross in front.
What a great run by Richard Hastings. Around the back of Brennan, full of running, and likely having to run just as hard now to get back and defend against this Colombia team. But lots of options for the guy on the ball, and that's because players are making runs. They're creating angles to get the ball back from the player on the ball.
Here's Nash. Sends one in, no problem there for the keeper, as he had no help up front.
Well, still uncharacteristic for Martin Nash. I mean, every ball he plays is with a purpose, and perhaps at this stage he's starting to feel the fatigue of a game in which he's been all over the park.
Stalteri.
In the last 3 or 4 possessions for Martin Nash, he's actually given it away, and I don't think he gave it away all of the first half.
Hurtado laying one off there for Candelo. Hurtado sloppy on that one. Canada back now with Watson. Luis Garcia looking on as Colombia getting set to make more changes. Number 9 is Edwin Congo. It appears as though he'll be replacing number 20, Victor Bonilla. So it's Congo for Bonilla here in the second half, as Luis Garcia holds true to form, making several changes here.
Bonilla doesn't appear to be too happy with the substitution. Bonilla playing up front beside Asprilla. Congo now takes his place in that role.
Nash fouled there. Bit of a quiet spot in this game right now, with approaching 15 minutes gone in the second half. Mark Watson, and you can see the rain has not let up. Colombia clearing it, but Canada content just to knock it back in there. Here they come now with Martinez. Long searching ball knocked away. De Vos knocks it away again. Corazzin. Good defensive play there, but Canada keep the pressure on and keep possession. Brennan. Losing possession, away comes Hurtado. Brennan, maybe a little overzealous tugging on that, and the flag goes up on that one, with 2 Colombians in behind.
Brennan doing a good job of getting back. Asprilla suggesting he wasn't offside, but by the time the ball was played, he had run into an offside position.
And so Craig Forrest takes over now.
Canada's defense on that occasion doing a good job of not continuing to back up. At some point, they needed to come and engage the attacker, and they did it at the right time, forcing Colombia into an offside position.
Corazzin going up for that one, but Colombia come down with this and will start back. But Canada winning all those balls in the air that are launched towards them from the Colombian offense.
And you would expect Canada to win all of those balls. Colombia not really used to launching high balls up the middle, not a way that they like to play. And if they want to continue to do that, then Mark Watson and Jason de Vos will be happy to deal with those types of situations.
Here's Nash. Doing some more effective work for Canada in the corner, gaining the corner kick.
Nash doing well again, shielding the ball, and then playing it off the Colombian defender for a corner kick. For de Vos at the far post, Nash needs to keep this away from the keeper.
And the keeper comes way out as he's unchallenged and easily corrals it.
And it looked like Jason de Vos was taken down at the far post on that corner, although it was just on the side of the screen. But again, he's probably getting more attention than he was at the outset, having scored that goal at the end of the first half.
Crowd coming to life a little bit here for Colombia. Hurtado. Full Colombian crowd, such as it is here in the Coliseum on a wet, cool February day in Southern California. Menezes clears. And this is a chance for Carlo Corazzin. He's by himself, however, but retains possession until Paul Fenwick can come up.
Great play by Carlo Corazzin. He could have taken a chance and gone at the last Colombian defender, but at this point wants to just simply keep possession, of which they've still got possession.
Stalteri now losing possession. Cortez takes over. Feeding Dinas. Colombia coming back again. Into the box, and the weak header there by Asprilla. Not a problem.
Asprilla knew that he was too far out to try to head that towards goal. Tried to knock it down into the path of his striking partner up front.
Canada now less than half an hour away from the Gold Cup title. Cortez. Candelo. Stalteri, good work there. Corazzin now. Running out of room with that one. Chance there, and Colombia come away with this one, and they've got people up front. Down the far side is Hurtado. Puts it into the middle, and there's Craig Forrest. That could have been dangerous. It was dangerous, but it didn't materialize for Colombia.
62 minutes in, and that's the first chance I think that Craig Forrest has actually had to make a save on. Right idea here, trying to bend the ball into the near post, but unfortunately gets it too close to Craig Forrest.
Martin Nash is down, and I'm not sure if is that dirt or is that blood.
And that's that result of that. No, it's not. Is that Martin Nash?
No, that's not Nash. Mark Watson. It's Mark Watson on that play that sent in the Colombians on that offensive four-way, Edwin Congo. And it's Martin Nash who is down. Here's a look at what happened to him. And I don't know what it was.
It was difficult to tell from that situation, but he may have gotten a foot on top of his foot. That looks like the only thing that could have happened there.
So Colombia now, maybe sensing that they've got something going here is Nash. You can see him trot back to get into the play. Into the box, headed away. And you wonder with Martin Nash how much he has left. Doing a great job here today for Canada. He's played more than 60 minutes of this one. Another ball sent in there, and Forrest comes out to make it, as the host broadcaster has a couple of problems.
And to play a through ball as was just attempted on this type of surface is very, very difficult. More often than not, it's going to have to go into feet because the ball is just simply skipping away in some areas of the field. I think it's, as I said at the beginning of the match, it appears in some areas of the field that it's actually waterlogged.
Apologies for the broadcast problems here, folks. That's originating from the host broadcast feed coming out of the Coliseum. It appears as though they've lost a camera, by the way they're shooting this now, as Colombia will take over possession here. coming to life one more time. Zapata feeds off to a teammate. This is Perez. And for Congo, who had that run a moment ago. And he's going to be able to get a shot, but it's deflected away. It was Fenwick there to do the job. Here's Corazzin. And he's got the man up front is Brennan, who doesn't get good wood on it, as they say.
Nicely played by Jim Brennan, allowing the ball to bounce and then run onto it. Would have been better advised to try and keep possession at that point because it was a difficult shot to take.
Colombia coming back. Hastings watching Hurtado. Hector Hurtado feeds it off as Colombia move around.
You can see from behind the goal that Canada looked very solid in their formation, making it very, very difficult for the Colombians to break them down, forcing the Colombians to go back and sideways. And Jason de Vos reading that nicely, seeing the ball was going to be played into the path of the Colombians, stepped in front and attracts a foul.
So now it's Menezes for Canada. Said before the game, this is the biggest game of his life. Well, in fact, I would think maybe every member of the Canadian team would say that very same thing right now.
And for Menezes, it's got to be extra special in that he plays his club soccer in Brazil. So the fact that he can go back to Brazil, or hopefully he can go back to Brazil.
And here comes an opportunity for Canada. This is Jeff Clarke, and he's taken down in the box. And it's a penalty kick for Canada, says referee Peter Prendergast.
Great run by Jeff Clarke. The goalkeeper came out, looked like he was going down, definitely a penalty kick. Stepped across the path of Jeff Clarke, which results in a penalty.
Jeff Clarke taken down by the goalkeeper Diego Gómez in the box, and this could be a defining moment right here for Canada.
Gómez got it all wrong. He should have come out and smothered the ball with his hands there. Instead, seems as if he can get there first if he dives with his hands down, but decides to go and tackle with his feet, which is very unorthodox.
And so now this kick to be taken here, and it's a goal for Canada by Carlo Corazzin to give Canada the 2-0 lead. And how big is that, folks?
And Carlo Corazzin demonstrating that his penalty shot against Costa Rica was by design. He went exactly the same place, straight down the middle, and looked very confident in doing so.
Carlo Corazzin with his 4th goal of the tournament, no problem on Diego Gómez.
And at this stage of the game, Canada, again, full value for the victory. Or for
not a victory yet.
For the lead. I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. There's still time left, but if they continue to play the way that they are, and here we see it from behind, straight down the middle. Obviously, Gómez didn't scout Carlo Corazzin in his penalty shooting, because if he'd stood still, it would have hit him. Exactly the same shot as he converted against Costa Rica.
Carlo Corazzin plays for a 3rd division side in England, and you wonder how long that will last after his performance here in the Gold Cup. Northampton Town is his club side.
And the player that generated the penalty, Jeff Clarke, doing well to join in the attack, having the composure to go around the keeper and drawing the penalty shot.
Canada now 20 minutes and a little bit away from the Gold Cup championship.
Well, Colombia's going to have to do something they haven't done for 70 minutes, and that's create a chance. Not only have Canada played better than Colombia, they've created the better chances. Colombia at this point don't seem to have an answer for the way the Canadians are lining up and defending.
Here's Perez. Back to Perez.
And the goal was timely from the point of view as well, as it seemed as though the Colombians were starting to get on top a little bit. The crowd were certainly getting into it, and now you can hear the crowd have been silenced.
Paul Fenwick is back. Hands it off to Watson. for Stalteri.
And as much as it's been Canada's best all-round game of the tournament thus far, also Paul Stalteri's best all-round game of the tournament as well, both ways. He's done well in the previous games defensively, but in this game, he's also added the attack to his game as well.
And we know that fitness is not a problem for Canada. We've said it before, and it bears repeating. You've seen Stalteri and the way he's going. Martin Nash is still in this contest, and Canada coming on for some more right here. The cross into the box, headed away for a corner by the Colombian defender. That's Roberto Carlos Cortez.
For the most part, Canada's crosses have also been very effective. On that occasion, they didn't get on the end of it, but they forced Colombia to scramble it away.
Here's Brennan now. Canada looking for more. All the way across to the far side. De Vos with a head on it, but it's cleared. Clarke just content to send it out and allow his team time to regroup. Back comes Clarke. Canada has made it to the World Cup only once. That was 1986. What else have they done, Bob?
Not much aside from that. Nothing that can compare to what they're doing today. And it appears as though they're going to win. We certainly don't want to hex them, but if you look back over the 5 games that they've played in this tournament, they've had to rely on Craig Forrest, excellent goalkeeping. They've had to rely on an excellent team and individual defense, timely goals, and up to this point, they've had to rely on a little bit of luck. Not today. Today, they don't need good luck. They've just turned in a solid performance. They're well worth the 2-0 lead that they have right now.
This is Hastings now. Colombia will keep coming. But efforts like that won't get them very far. Right there.
With the 2 goals that Colombia have conceded today, that's 7 goals that they've given up. And that's an awful lot of goals to give up in a tournament-type play. And more often, and you'll always notice that the teams that win these types of tournaments are the teams that concede the fewest goals, and Canada's done a very good job of being very, very strong in that department.
Well, when you look at it, they gave up 2 to Costa Rica, nothing to Korea, 1 to Mexico, and nothing to Trinidad, and nothing today.
And that's what wins you tournaments.
Playing the Canadian zone while the camera is shooting the Colombian zone. Number 10 there, taken down. That's Asprilla. And the free kick to Colombia. They take it quickly and carry on. Craig Forrest comes off his line to knock that away. Again, our apologies for the strange camera work here. It appears as though the host broadcaster is having trouble with one of their main cameras, and we're forced to accept whatever it is they give us. Colombia, keep coming. 17 is Candelo. There's Hastings to knock it away.
There we saw Jim Brennan doing what he's done all tournament, tracking back in his own end and nullifying a Costa Rican opportunity.
There's Nash. Basically gets rid of it. Nash perhaps is tiring. He hasn't been as integral as he had been early in the game.
But I think he's answered the questions about his fitness at this point.
Oh, there's no doubt.
He's had a strong first half, and he actually has done far more running than he would have done had he just simply stayed up front. He's been all over the park.
Colombian free kick here. A little more than 15 minutes to go. Play in the Canadian box, and this could be trouble right here. And they're in, and it just goes wide. And that's how close Colombia was to getting on the board.
Well, for the first time, they got through. They've got a corner, and I think that's what Craig Forrest is asking about at this point. And it is a corner, actually.
Canada's standing back just a little bit here, watching the Colombians at work. And they're going to go to work. There's the corner, and it's taken away effectively and just cleared away. Perez. Here they come again. Another foul by a Canadian defender, this time
Martin Nash
on Edwin Congo.
Oh, it's Jason de Vos. I'm
Jason
sorry.
de Vos, and he came in strong on that one. Congo looked like he would never get up, then jumped up. The bottom line is the play is in the Canadian zone almost constantly here right now. Canada will have to be careful.
Well, it's something you almost expect. Colombia have to throw caution to the wind at this point and launch people forward, and Canada are just trying to protect what they've got.
Colombia with half a dozen players up in the box here.
And he's asking for 10 yards, and it appears to be a good 10 yards to me.
And the shot goes harmlessly by the net, and so Canada will now come back. And you think that Canada will probably try to slow this game down just a little bit when they get possession of the ball at this point.
Any restarts that Canada have, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what they'll do. They don't want to take too much time and risk being cautioned, but they're certainly going to take whatever time they're allotted.
Fenwick went up for that one and comes down with the foul on his side. So Canada will retain possession here.
Now let's talk about Paul Fenwick for a minute. He had the misfortune of getting injured in the first match. He's come into this game in a very unfamiliar role on the right-hand side and has done a great job, a great workmanlike job.
Paul Fenwick hurt his back, was suffering back spasms. And he has done a great job. And here come Colombia. Stalteri trying to thwart this one. Doesn't like the call, goes against him. De Vos apparently booked on that last play, and I'm not sure what that was about. Here's Stalteri tugging on the jersey of Asprilla. Faustino Asprilla. Here come Colombia. Sent in harmlessly to Forrest, who makes sure he covers up that one. Still raining at the Coliseum. A dozen minutes to go. And another foul there by, this time it was, I don't think it was Stalteri, I think it was Jeff Clarke. And they're saying Stalteri has been booked as well. Here's Fenwick. Oh, nice pass there, back to Stalteri, who runs into a wall, but is fouled.
And Carlo Corazzin again demonstrating that not only is he scoring goals in this tournament, he's all around, he's playing very, very well. Holds it up and clever little back heel into the path of Paul Stalteri, who runs into a Colombian.
Number 2 is Andrés Mosquera.
Now Mosquera is saying, well, I just stood still. And he stood in the way of Paul Stalteri. That's why he got called for a free kick.
A lot of stops and starts here now with fouls happening.
That doesn't hurt Canada at this point. Colombia needs the game to free flow and allow them to get into some sort of rhythm, which they haven't done at this point.
And here's a ball in through, but he's too far. Almost past the goal line before Asprilla was able to get his foot on that one. But they do get a corner out of this. And so the siege on the Canadian zone continues here by Colombia, trying to get back into this match. They've got just over 10 minutes in which to do it. This is Hector Hurtado now for Colombia to take this one. And things not lined up properly. Yellow card. Caution has come out here again, and this time it looks like it's Edwin Congo. So that's 4 or 5 in the last couple of minutes here to both sides. Brennan knocks that one away. Another corner.
And you see Jim Brennan His job at the near post is to cut out the flat ball that's driven in.
So they'll do it again. And so Canada will now take over. No harm done there on back-to-back corner kicks by Colombia.
Craig Forrest taking as much time as he possibly can, letting that clock wind down.
Under 10 minutes remaining. And here they come again. Perez. Little passes, and they've exposed that right side again. Clarke looking at his man. The cross comes in front, and that was very dangerous, but it was knocked clear at the last second. So Colombia is starting to penetrate a little bit here and get chances. Number 11 in that case, Martin Zapata.
And the call was on Zapata for pushing Mark Watson out of the way, and that's a bad foul to concede. The cross is coming in. It's a dangerous cross. Colombia have a goal-scoring opportunity, and they give it away.
And now they're arguing that Canada's taking too much time. And Edwin Congo, well, he's already been booked, so he can't be booked again. or else he'd be sent off. Here come Canada now. Corazzin can't make that work. And Colombia now in possession one more time. And this looks dangerous again. Jeff Clarke makes sure. Perez can't deal with that, and so now Canada, and again they will take their time.
Good job of defending once again by Pal Stalteri, forcing the Colombians away from the goal and forcing them right off the side of the field.
Watson. And the foul that time by Cortez.
If you recall in the Trinidad game, in the latter stages of the match, you could hear Holger Osieck shouting from the bench to keep it on the side. And that's exactly what I think we'll be seeing as we get towards the 85th minute mark. You won't see Canada going towards goal. You'll simply just try to see them run the clock out, take the ball into the corners where it's not dangerous.
Perez sends one downfield. Watson went down, and that allowed the Colombians to break free, and they're still attacking here. Trying to get it in front. It's knocked out, and Canada dodges another bullet there with Martin Nash coming forward. Laying it off to Stalteri. Fenwick back for Stalteri, who couldn't handle that one, and they would have liked to kept possession there.
And they're having to weather a bit of a storm here, so it would be nice to try and maintain some possession, get the ball up front away from the goal, try and hang on to it for a little bit, because for the last 15 minutes, Colombia has done most of that.
Perez. Stalteri. Losing it there, and in come the Colombians with Asprilla. And they've got numbers in the box, and there's a penalty kick coming up now for Colombia.
And it looked a little bit harsh. You get another look at it, we'll be able to tell.
Jeff Clarke pulling down.
He definitely had his hand on him.
Edwin Congo, the victim there from Jeff Clarke.
We'll get a better look at it from here. Reaches around. Well, I don't know if he pulled him that hard. He certainly had his arm in that area of the upper body. Congo did a good job, and there's Carlo Corazzin. Maybe he knows the shooter from Colombia as well.
Well, in the Trinidad game, you'll recall, he went and gave Forrest instructions on how to handle Russell Latabe. Only problem was Latabe didn't take the kick, but the guy who did, David Naked, did what Latabe would have done. Here comes the penalty kick now from Colombia. And Forrest makes the save on a rather weak-looking effort from the Colombian.
Well, I think if you're looking up at Craig Forrest in the Canadian goal now, you don't see much space to shoot at, because that was another weak effort. And let's credit Carlo Corazzin. I think he made the shooter think about it. Moving across the line, and again, another feeble effort, but credit Craig Forrest for making the shooter obviously very anxious, and it results in what Craig Forrest makes to look a very easy save. But look at him moving across the line and giving the shooter Congo so much to think about.
It was actually Faustino Asprilla who took that penalty kick. Hard to believe, their dominant offensive player, and he looked beaten before he even stepped up to that ball. He seemed to have nothing on it. But credit Forrest, he made the move when he had to. He's done that twice now. A world-class goalkeeper, Craig Forrest. And so now, under 5 minutes plus whatever stoppage time, referee Peter Prendergast deems is necessary to complete this match. Holger Osieck smiling a little bit there right now.
Somebody's being asked to leave.
Looks like somebody's been sent off. Is that true? Holger? Well, he's smiling about it, but it appears as though Holger Osieck, Canadian team coach, has been ejected here with 5 minutes to go.
Well, maybe he's getting an early start up to collect the trophy. We don't know for sure, but it probably as a result of arguing the penalty call. That's the only thing that I can think of at this point.
Holger Osieck will watch what's left of this on the sidelines. And now, folks, there is not a whole lot left. There will be some time added on. There's not much doubt about that. But Canada on the verge of something very special here now. A 2-0 lead over Colombia. Can you believe this? Canada prepared to win the Gold Cup Championship, a tournament which features teams like 10th-ranked Mexico, 22nd-ranked United States, 24th-ranked Colombia, as Garret Kusch appears ready to come on here as a substitute in the late going. Canada went into this tournament ranked 85th. They'll come out of it next month when the rankings come out a lot higher, no doubt about that. And Holger Osieck, despite the fact he's being ejected, can't wipe the smile off his face, and that's not hard to understand.
Look for Canada on this occasion here to keep possession, unless they're going for the third goal, which it appears to be they are.
Brennan curls one in there, and it goes wide of the goal. And so Diego Gómez will come back one more time for Colombia.
Are those Colombian supporters wearing red and white?
I doubt it. They seem a little too happy to be Colombian supporters right now. Canada under Holger Osieck on a 10-game unbeaten streak, threatening to make it 11 and conclude a remarkable performance here in the Gold Cup.
And Martin Nash still probably not as much jump as he did at the outset of the match, but still able to get the ball and attract a foul on that occasion by going at the Colombian defenders.
Stalteri. Fenwick. Back for Stalteri.
Well, Canada appear to be well on their way now to winning the Gold Cup, something which all of us, and themselves included, would have considered impossible 2 weeks ago. And they've done it in style.
Yes, indeed they have. And Stalteri trying to waste time down in the corner, but he wastes a little before Colombia takes over. Kusch trying to get on. And apparently to replace Martin Nash, which is not surprising. Nash has done a tremendous job here under these circumstances for Canada. And he comes off and gets the big hand from Kusch. And on comes Garret Kusch.
Nash provided something to Canada today, which they have been lacking throughout the tournament, and that's some composure on the ball, the ability to get it, keep his team in possession, provide quality service into his front-running partner, Carlo Corazzin, when the need arises, and he's also demonstrated with his free kick that he's a very, very comfortable player in dead ball situations.
Colombia keeping the ball in play here now. Here's Clarke. He's fouled. Canada quickly put it back into play, but Kusch was offside. And we are now into stoppage time, so only a matter of moments remaining here in this match. That was, I thought, offside. Apparently not. And it's Colombia's ball deep in Canada's zone here for another last gasp effort for the team from South America. Peter Prendergast says, let's get it going here. 3 minutes, I think I heard, is the amount of time added on. Corazzin up there. Colombia now back again. Stalteri.
Canada doing a great job in this game. Whenever a Colombian player received the ball, he would be challenged by the player who was marking him, and then on top of that, you'd see other Canadian players squeezing that player from all sides of the ball. Colombia not having the time to get settled on it.
Perez now. Moves into position. Gets it into the box, but Forrest comes out to handle that one. Craig Forrest on his way back to West Ham United of the English Premier League when this game concludes. The next match for Canada, a friendly at Varsity Stadium in Toronto in May before their World Cup qualifying process begins. And that's what it's all about, and that's what Holger Osieck has said time and again from the moment he took over this team, is the only thing that matters is getting to the World Cup. This, obviously, he's quite pleased about and quite proud of, no doubt, and this will go a long way in terms of instilling confidence and gaining the experience needed to be competitive in those upcoming matches.
Well, beating Mexico was a huge win for the Canadians.
As Garret Kusch comes down into an offensive foray on his own, he doesn't mind, he's just going to waste time, and he's still got the ball here. And knocks it in front, and that's a corner kick for Canada. Here with only seconds remaining for Luis Garcia and his Colombian team, as Garret Kusch and the Canadians will celebrate the Gold Cup Championship here in the Los Angeles Coliseum in 2000. What a way to start the new decade, the new century for Canadian soccer, with the biggest international win they have ever had. Colombia just going through the motions now. And can you imagine what it feels like to be a Canadian soccer player as Peter Prendergast blows the whistle? It's official. Canada, 2000 Gold Cup champions. How does that sound?
Well, an absolutely improbable conclusion to this tournament, but let's say it again. If they had good fortune on their side up to this game, they didn't need it today. Today was simply just a solid performance, full value for the 2-0 victory.
Soccer fans across the country, you can celebrate now. Canada is back on the map in this sport of football, 85th ranked in the world. That will change very soon, and people will be noticing this, and they'll be questioning what's going on in the Canadian soccer program. Well, there's a number of things. One is Holger Osieck. One is more confidence, and another thing is the players that he has found, and players that have been gaining experience in the leagues they're playing in. And my, oh my, what an improvement.
Well, and you can actually see by the Canadian celebrations that they're getting used to this, because when they beat Mexico, they seemed to be more excited than they are right now. So that's a good sign as well.
Let's watch. Great stuff from the Canadian national soccer team. Holger Osieck and his lads, Holger's heroes, some people in the media are calling them now. I don't know about that, but they're certainly some kind of team to watch, and we've had a lot of fun with this tournament, no doubt. Game after game, it just gets better and better. And now this. For Holger Osieck, the German, who was invited to try his luck at coaching Canada 15 months ago, said, okay, why not? Here's a man who has coached, assisted Franz Beckenbauer in Germany, has coached in Turkey, has coached in Japan, thought he'd give it a shot here. And look at what's happened.
Well, it's paid dividends, and what he's brought with him is a discipline that Canada have demonstrated throughout this tournament. They've been able to soak up pressure when they've had to. They've scored on up to this game. They've had few chances, but they've scored when they've needed to. Carlo Corazzin has taken his game to another level. We've said earlier, players like Richard Hastings have come out of nowhere, Jeff Clarke, Martin Nash, and all of this augurs well. This is a wonderful achievement. What it does augur well for is World Cup qualifying.
Well, and you will get to see this Canadian soccer side a few times this year in Canada. As I said, most of the players will return to their domestic clubs right after this tournament, but there will be a friendly against Trinidad and Tobago at Varsity Stadium in Toronto on May 27th, and then there will be one World Cup qualifying game in June. It's a two-game home-and-home series, and one of those games will be in Canada in June. We're not sure yet of the location, but that will come your way, so keep an eye on that. And then, of course, there'll be a big World Cup qualifying round next fall with games to be played on home soil as well.
And a number of these players will also be participating in Olympic qualifying as well. And if you look at Canada's chances to qualify prior to this Gold Cup achievement, you might have said they'd be in tough against Mexico and the United States. But all of those players that are playing in that Olympic team, benefiting from this experience, they've got to go in there now and they've got to feel they've got a great chance of qualifying for the Sydney Olympics.
Carlo Corazzin, 4 goals in this tournament, playing for a 3rd division side, Northampton Town in England. His stock goes up. Edwin De Rosario there in the background did not get into this tournament. Actually, I think he did get in as a substitute at one point, but Holger Osieck is a man who does not smile often, and right now he can't stop. Jason de Vos, the team captain, also the captain of Dundee United, his club side of the Scottish Premier League. Craig Forrest, the most capped goalie ever for Canada now, from West Ham United, who has a starting job, I'm sure, awaiting him back in England with the injury to the #1 keeper at West Ham, Shaka Hislop. Canadian fans, there weren't a whole lot here, but you can see there are some. And now the media onslaught begins for the Canadian players. Something else that they're not all that used to, because they're basically anonymous wherever they go, and maybe that will change.
Well, if they had hoped to creep up on people in World Cup qualifying, that's not going to happen anymore. As a result of this performance throughout the Gold Cup, they've now alerted people that they've got it going and they're a country to be reckoned with when it comes time to qualify for the next World Cup.
Some of the players exchanging jerseys, as you can see. I think I got a glimpse of Paul Fenwick there wearing a Colombian jersey as they get set for the trophy presentation here at center field for Canada. Yes, indeed, folks, you're hearing me right. Canada, Gold Cup champions. In the official program for this tournament before it began, Canada was listed as a team that looks very insecure when in possession of the ball and does not look likely to advance beyond the first round. The Canadian players were quite upset, and so was the team management, so was the Canadian Soccer Association, by the way they were portrayed in that program, and that gave them some extra motivation, I'm sure.
Well, they've answered it in the best way possible by not only winning the Gold Cup, but deservedly beating Colombia, who are a highly ranked team.
Canadian flags suddenly in abundance here in the Los Angeles Coliseum. And why not? Looks good. A gray, dreary February day in Los Angeles. The rain began this morning. It continued right through to the end of this match. And you know what? It looks like it has stopped raining, in fact. How's that for timing?
And most of the players won't get much of a chance to celebrate this achievement. As you indicated, they'll all be off back to their club sides, back over to Europe. Only a couple of players, Martin Nash and Jeff Clarke, to name the two, are unattached. But I don't think that's going to be for much longer. Both did very well in this tournament. I'm sure going to attract a lot of attention.
There they are from the right. That's Richard Hastings, 15, Carlo Corazzin, Jeff Clarke, and there's Davide Xausa. Looks fit enough to play to me, although he didn't get into this game and didn't start because of a shoulder problem. And they're a happy bunch of lads right now, the Canadian national soccer side.
That's Teresa Corazzin. in the stands. So she's obviously very happy as well.
The party has begun for the Canadian soccer team. Unfortunately, there are not a whole lot of Canadians there to party with them, but the country can party back home while they're partying in LA tonight.
Well, it's a huge lift for the entire program. The prize money from this game is $150,000 to the association. But more importantly, when they participate in the Confederations Cup in 2001, even if they finish from 5th to 8th at that tournament, they're guaranteed somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million US, and that's going to be a huge injection into the Canadian program.
All right, let's look ahead to World Cup qualifying, because that's the next big step and the biggest step of all. You've got, in this region, 3 teams go to the World Cup. You've got Mexico, who should be a shoo-in. You've got the United States, and then one of either Canada, Jamaica, Honduras, Guatemala, teams like that. And at the outset, you could have said, well, Jamaica is probably the team that would logically be number 3 based on the fact they were in the last World Cup. But they're in a bit of turmoil right now. Their coach has departed to go coach a club team in Brazil. And you don't know who's up for that 3rd spot. You'd have to say Canada's got every bit of an advantage as any other team right now.
Well, they've just given the game in Canada a huge injection. And you're absolutely right. What Canada mustn't do at this point is assume that the 3rd spot is a shoo-in. And you talk about the Americans, you talk about the Mexicans, you would assume they'd be shoo-ins too, but the Americans have to be sitting back now and thinking, what has happened here? You know, and as a result, I think that the 3 spots are all going to be up for grabs. As you say, you've got Trinidad, you've got Honduras that seem to have turned around their program. So it's not going to be easy. No one should assume that at this stage, but certainly we've given ourselves the country has given themselves a great base to build on as a result of this achievement.
All right, let's take it back down to Los Angeles now, where our own Alf de Blasses is standing by on the field. Alf, come on in.
How you doing, Jerry? Bob, what a stunning development. Just an unbelievable tournament for Canada, achieving the CONCACAF championship against Trinidad and Tobago in the semifinal, coming in here and scoring a 2-0 upset of Colombia in the championship final and walking away with a gold cup. Who would have thought from the very beginning that this was possible?
Alf, do you have any idea what the representatives from the other countries are saying, or what have they been saying up to this point?
Many of the comments have obviously been quite favorable towards Canada, that they've played extremely well throughout the tournament. They've showed a lot of discipline. They've showed terrific team composure, and that they're quite deserving of being here. Of course, there was the good fortune of a coin toss that went our way, but ever since then, Canada has been here by merit.
Alf, you wonder about the tournament and how obviously CONCACAF is taking a bath on this one, expecting 80 or 90,000 people in the seats for a Mexico-U.S. final. That obviously didn't turn out that way. What are they saying about that?
Well, obviously it was set up in such a way, the tournament, to favor U.S. and Mexico, because those 2 teams had several days rest between games. And of course, it didn't turn out that way. We saw that Canada upset Mexico. We saw that Colombia upset the United States. So on the merit of those 2 results, these 2 teams deserve to be here in the final. And certainly on the performance of the day, Canada deserves to walk away with the Gold Cup, no question about it.
Well, that's exactly what happened. Thanks very much, Al, for your reports from California. Again, Canada defeating Colombia by a score of 2-0 here. And, of course, that big save on the penalty kick by Craig Forrest towards the end as well. We will continue with more of our post-game show, the Gold Cup Championship. Your winning team, Canada, everyone. Back in just a moment.
Our car price is giving
up on CTV Sportsnet is brought to you by JVC, when performance matters. Hyundai, driving is believing. And by Adidas.
No doubt, certainly the biggest win in Canadian international soccer, at least since they qualified for the World Cup in 1986. And look at the size of that trophy. That's the Gold Cup, folks. It's about to be presented to Canada. FIFA President Sepp Blatter is on hand for the presentation.
Are you on yet, Don?
A couple of small audio problems we're experiencing right now, but you can see the trophy sitting there on the stage. On the stage, of course, is FIFA President Sepp Blatter. With him is CONCACAF President Jack Warner, along with some other dignitaries here as we get set for this presentation.
Jim Fleming, president of the Canadian Soccer Association, is also up there as well.
Sepp Blatter on the left, Jack Warner on the right in the presentation.
Football Confederation, and Mr. Robert Montefiore, President of the United States Soccer Federation.
Jason de Vos holding up a trophy there. I'm not exactly sure which trophy that is, unless it's the MVP for this game.
The top goal scorer award will be presented by Mr. Bobby Charlton, world famous hero in 1960.
Coming up, the top goal scorer award, and we know who that goes to. Canada's Carlo Corazzin, of course, with 4 goals in the tournament, led everybody in that department, and so he receives his award.
Well, and not only did he score 4 goals, he set up the crucial game winner against Trinidad as well with his jumping ability.
Have been selected by the international media in attendance and balloting conducted by Football de Primera. First, the outstanding goalkeeper of the tournament. The award will be presented by Dr.
And of course, the outstanding, if you can hear in the background, the outstanding goalkeeper in the tournament, there's not much doubt about who that award goes to. Craig Forrest, of course, stopping 2 penalty kicks in this tournament. Simply outstanding against Mexico and Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, in every game.
In the first game against Costa Rica, where he needed to be strong and he had plenty of action, he looked very solid and enabled his team to get a 2-2 draw.
Award goes to Craig Forrest.
Canada sweeping the hardware here in this post-game ceremony.
I think he just got the most valuable player of the tournament. I think Jason de Vos was probably the most valuable player of this game, and that Craig Forrest is now the most valuable player of the tournament, which, if in fact is what it is, he's very deserving. MVP.
The national team of Colombia.
Up next, the presentation to the runners-up of this tournament. Colombia, of course.
2006 Big Committee, and Mr. Tony James, member of the Executive Committee of the Football Confederation.
Now, we talk about what this means for Canada in terms of the rankings. On the other hand, if you're a country like Mexico or Colombia and you're getting beaten by a team like Canada, it has the opposite effect. You're going to drop.
Well, it will do. Mexico is ranked 10th. I would think they'd probably drop 4 or 5 spots. I don't think they'll drop much more than that. It's certainly going to be more of an impact the way that Canada is going to go. They've got to go, and now that they've won the Gold Cup, they've got to be looking at least 30 spots up in the rankings.
Canada perhaps going all the way from 85 to maybe somewhere, I mean, we're only guessing. We'll know when FIFA puts out the rankings next month, which they do on a monthly basis, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 50, we would think.
Oh, I would think that they would have to be at least at 55. That would put them up 30. And who knows, they could even crack the top 50, which would be a long time since we've been in the top 50.
Well, you know when it was 1996 December, I think. We were ranked 40th when you were the coach of the team.
And if we were ranked 40th at that point, we didn't win a Gold Cup. So I would think at this stage that again, 40 might be unrealistic, but certainly if Canada continues to get the type of victories that they're getting, then cracking that 40 mark will also be a reality.
Watching the Colombians get their medals for finishing second in the tournament. Don't forget, you can catch an edition of Sports Central immediately following our post-game wrap-up here of the Gold Cup. The early edition of Sports Central with Darren Dreger. He'll have all the highlights from around the sports world, and you bet he'll have the highlights of this game as well. That's coming up as soon as we're through here. Wrapping up the presentation to the Colombian team for finishing second, there's Sepp Blatter and Jack Warner with the glasses. And up next, of course, will be Canada getting their medals for winning the whole thing.
Well, finishing second in a tournament under normal circumstances wouldn't be that bad, but I would think that back home in Colombia, they'd be very disappointed with the fact that they didn't come away with this Gold Cup trophy. And they would probably look at the fact that they're playing Canada and think that, well, this has got to be a formality. But Canada, again, demonstrated that they were full value for the victory.
Well, you know, it's always a double-edged sword. CONCACAF likely concerned that they're taking a financial hit on this one, not having a large crowd for this game because the teams they expected to be there are not here. On the other hand, CONCACAF invites countries to this tournament, and usually they're fairly high-quality sides, Colombia being ranked 24th. And then a CONCACAF team goes out and beats them in the final. So that tells you that the soccer's improving in this region, and they've got to be happy about that.
Exactly.
As Canada now getting their medals.
And champion of the Confederation, the national team of Canada. To present the medals, Mr. Robbie Aristodemo, Vice President of the Football Confederation.
Jason de Vos there, first up. Dundee United in the Scottish Premier League, captain of that side as well, has really come on strong the last while. He's played every game under Holger Osieck, dating back to last April when he kicked off his regime with a tie against Northern Ireland.
And I'm sure a lot of the players that were coming back from Europe were probably feeling a little awkward about leaving their club sides, but right now collecting their winners' medals, it has to make it all worthwhile.
There's Jim Brennan going through. Mark Watson with the flag draped around him. And then Davide Xausa. Xausa, the vocal one. Come on! Tony Menezes there. There's Paul Fenwick wearing the Colombian jersey. Tony Menezes in behind him, playing in Brazil. And what a player he has turned out to be for this team. Is the sun actually shining? Is that possible? That would be too good to be true right now.
Very poetic.
Pal Stalteri, who plies his trade in Germany. Holger Osieck moved him to midfield from his natural forward position after watching him in a couple of friendlies in January. Liked what he saw and has stuck with him throughout this tournament. And he has worked as hard or harder than anybody. Martin Nash coming in to start this game. Not attached to any other team. Carlo Corazzin behind Craig Forrest there. Corazzin with the 4 goals. Plays in England as well. Dwayne De Rosario there. You saw just a look at him in the blue and white coat. Didn't get much of an opportunity to play here, but he has a future with this team as well.
Well, all of the players will go separate ways tomorrow. It is rather unfortunate because I think the Canadian team, well, I don't think, I know the Canadian team has certainly generated a lot of publicity over this last 2 weeks. It would have been nice if the team could have stayed together and come back to Canada, because I think they would have got a very, very welcome reception from not only the soccer public, but I think the sporting public in general, because this team has achieved something that's very, very noteworthy.
Well, such is the state of affairs when there is no professional soccer league in Canada, and that's why they go hither and yon around the globe, as Jim Fleming gets congratulations from Sepp Blatter and then from Jack Warner. Fleming, the president of the Canadian Soccer Association.
Once again, to present.
And that is about the biggest trophy I think I've ever seen.
Very fitting.
Is Mr. Jack Warner, president of the Football Confederation.
Jack Warner in the middle of your picture there, making the presentation of the Gold Cup. Jason de Vos on the left of your screen just trying to get in there and accept the darn thing. And he finally gets his hands on it.
And Jack Warner to his right is the president of CONCACAF. Also from Trinidad, so I'm sure that he's a little disappointed.
And there is a picture to behold, folks. The Canadian team with a major international trophy. And here's the goal that did it. Off a corner kick.
Up, well up in the air, and directing it downwards, and just barely makes it over the line, but that's enough.
It's only a matter of time before the singing begins.
What a What a great couple of years it's been for Jason de Vos, going over to Dundee, or first of all going to Darlington, getting a transfer from Darlington to Dundee. Carlo Corazzin smacking home the second goal to pretty much seal the fate of Colombia.
2000 Gold Cup.
Now, who gets to sit with that on the plane ride on the way home? And Craig Forrest. You can't say enough about him, obviously, the tournament MVP.
And he made both penalty saves look very easy because, well, actually a lot of the work that he did was preparatory. I think he actually outsmarted the shooters on both occasions.
It's an amazing story. The team not considered to have any chance at all of winning, probably not even getting out of the first round, facing tough opponents like South Korea and Costa Rica. Didn't matter. In the end, they were able to get through. And don't forget, there was the luck of the coin toss. But you need luck in sports. I mean, you were relating a story about what happened to Italy in the 1982 World Cup finals that I'd forgotten all about.
1982, and in fact, Holger Osieck brought this up, and appropriately so. Italy didn't win a match in the first round. In fact, went through by virtue of a better goal difference than the Cameroon. And we all know what happened in 1982. They went on to win the World Cup.
Tremendous performance. We've talked a number of times about what this means for Canada because there are so many different things it means. What, in your mind, is the most important aspect of all of this for Canada?
Well, we get credibility back. On top of that, I hope what the legacy of this is that, and the CSA have discussed this already, they want to put money into player development. And I know Holger Osieck is also that's also a commitment on his part as well. So if we can get the money into that area so that we can not win these tournaments by chance, but we can be actually doing something productive towards that end, then that would be the biggest legacy as far as I'm concerned.
As we watch the players parade the trophy around in front of the few fans that are still remaining here, one thing else comes to mind that we haven't really talked about much today, and that is the depleted midfield. Injuries to key players who were kept out of this tournament. Mark Burcham, Nick Dasovic, etc. All injured, and that, you know, they're able to do this without that.
Well, and those would be three starting midfield players. So Holger Osieck is going to have some pleasant problems the next time he has to select a starting 11.
Dasovic, Burcham, and Jason Bent. So that's an important factor to consider because this team has never had depth, and now Holger Osieck is going to realize he does have some depth.
Wow.
Okay, standing by in California, let's head back one more time as Alf de Blasis with the man, the coach, Holger Osieck. Come on in, Alf.
Thank you, Holger Osieck, CONCACAF champions. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's incredible, but the performance the guys put on the field today, that was a great show, and I don't know what to say. I'm so proud of the team and the way they played. It was such tremendous stuff. I nearly find any word for that, and I think it's great for Canada.
It's been a remarkable tournament in the 15 months that you've been in this program. Did you believe 15 months ago when you first took over that Canada could achieve something as significant as this at this time?
No, definitely not. That would be a dream, but I think now we got it, and now I hope everybody in Canada will support us and that we can go further. We can develop football as football has to be developed, and then I think we have a bright future in Canada.
Thank you very much. Congratulations once again, Holger Osieck. Jason de Vos is just coming in to our position right now. Come in, Jace. Congratulations. Thanks. Let's show off this cup. And the medal as champion. Jason de Vos, a tremendous tournament personally and certainly collectively as a team. Tell me how this team came together, particularly against Mexico, and then from that point on.
Well, it all started with a coin toss, really. You know, we said to each other after we won the coin toss, you know, I think that our luck's changed, and we're going to go on and win the tournament. So, you know, we put in a monumental performance against Mexico. You know, that was a massive result for us. You know, we squeaked by against Trinidad. You know, we did enough to get through. And then today, you know, I was really proud of the boys. You know, they really grafted hard for 90 minutes. You know, we limited their chances, and when they did have a penalty, big stacks came up big for us.
Thanks very much, Jason de Vos. Congratulations once again. Now it's back to Jerry and Bob.
Thanks very much, Alf, and thanks a lot for everything you've done in California. Great job down there reporting. right from the beginning of this tournament. So that's the wrap-up, folks. Canada winning the Gold Cup in a 2-0 victory over Colombia. For Bob Lenarduzzi and our entire crew here at CTV Sportsnet, thanks for joining us, everyone. We will see you next time around when Canada takes to the pitch in this wonderful sport of football. Good night, everyone.